What's up everyone, how are you all? Today we are back with another blazing Naruto story. What if Naruto left Konoha and became the Black Dragon King? If you enjoy then please like, share and do comment, and also check the description box to original creator of this beautiful creation. You fail. Naruto clenched his fist as he felt the ropes around him being cut. Jonin instructor Kakashi Hitaki glanced at the three of them. Sasuke and Sakura will return to the academy. You Naruto are to report to the Hokage Tower Administration's desk on the second floor. You will not be a ninja. How you became a genin even is wonder. Naruto nodded, numbly. He wanted to rant. He wanted to scream. He had tried so hard, and Kakashi just crushed his dreams. Why? Naruto asked as the Uchiha and his fangirl walked away. What's that? Kakashi asked, bored. He didn't care for the Kyuubi container. He relished in the abuse he got to dish out and the bonus of failing him. Why can't I go back to the academy? I tried so hard. Kakashi decided to speak frankly. Alright, I'll be brief because no one wants you to be one. You'll never be accepted. Your taijutsu is a joke. You have no skill in genjutsu and we'll not even speak about your lack of skills with ninjutsu. You don't belong in the noble field of the ninja. I'm filing my report thusly. Naruto looked down. I did more in this stupid test than the bastard Sasuke and Sakura-chan. Kakashi laughed. You think flailing about like you're having a spasm means you did something? You need to get real, brat. You're nothing more than a burden to this village. Resources are wasted on your stupid pranks and the time it takes to catch you to clean them, not to mention the manpower the Hokage wastes on keeping you out of trouble from the villagers. Kakashi hated the time when he was Anbu and forced to rescue and watch the blonde boy. I was a fucking captain, and I was forced to watch this thing as it paraded about wearing the image of my former sensei. He thought as he glared at young Uzumaki. Naruto was fighting to keep the tears back, but it was getting harder and harder with each word Kakashi spoke. Now, Uzumaki, report to the Hokage's tower, and I'll be there to file my report after making sure that the academy finds a suitable team for someone of Sasuke's caliber and possibly a team where Sakura will work with that she isn't a detriment to. Kakashi vanished in a leaf shushin. Naruto finally alone broke down sobbing. I'll never be accepted. They all hate me. He thought, it repeated in his mind over and over. His white-hot tears fell to the ground, as he collapsed to his knees and his body shook with heart-wrenching sobs. Sarutobi watched as Kakashi appeared. He saw the look in the man's eye and he instantly regretted not watching the test. Report, he ordered. The other instructors were waiting as well. Team 7, consisting of Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and the demon brat. Hitaki, I've spoken with you before about this. Use his name, the Hokage said, cutting over Kakashi. Fine. Naruto Uzumaki, have failed. I have sent Sasuke Uchiha and Sakura Haruno back to the academy to be sorted with the next available group of students. And Naruto? Iruka asked from where he was acting as the Hokage's assistant for the day. I told him not to bother applying again. He has nothing that will make him a ninja. I told him not to bother, and he can report to the tower later for assignment into a job class. The Hokage was pissed. Beyond pissed. The killing intent coming off him slammed into the room full of Jonin and it brought them to their knees. How dare you, Hitaki? The Hokage snapped. If you've done anything to that boy, I will have you assigned to permanent D-rank missions for the rest of your ninja career. If I let you live. The Hokage rounded his desk. I take it you vented your spleen on that boy while you had the chance. Kakashi nodded. It was getting hard to breathe. Sarutobi snarled. Iruka. Why yes, Lord Hokage? The scar-bearing Chunin said. Find Naruto, bring him here. He then turned to the rest. Dismissed. The Hokage knew that if any of them stayed he would need to replace Jonin. He looked at Kakashi who was still on his knees. You better pray I can fix this, Kakashi. Why bother? The masked nin asked, the words coming to his lips hard as he found it hard to speak. Because you just crushed Minato's son's dreams. What? Kakashi asked, his single eye widening. But Naruto is Kushina Uzumaki's and Minato Namikaze's son. Minato sealed the Kyuubi in his own son no less than an hour after his wife's death. Wife? But I married them in secret. Minato went out of his way to protect Kushina from his enemies, both here in Konoha and outside the village. Only I, Jiraiya and Tsunade knew. Rin? Kakashi's eyes widened at the mention of his missing teammate. Why wasn't I told? Kakashi asked. Why should you be told? The Hokage asked. I remember your reaction when I showed you Naruto hours after Minato's sacrifice. Kakashi winced. He'd tried to kill the baby, had not the Hokage and Jiraiya been there he would have succeeded. Kakashi looked down, and realized why he never been told, and it made him feel even worse. Iruka looked everywhere for Naruto, the top of the monument, the training grounds, the ramen stand. What a time for my bloodline to fail me, he thought. He finally looked for Naruto at the blonde's apartment and winced seeing the amount of graffiti on the walls and the smashed door. He rapped on it with his knuckles, and when he heard nothing he popped the lock. He stopped in the doorway seeing the damage. The living room and kitchen looked totally trashed. Naruto? He called out. Moving further into the apartment he saw evidence of fire and more graffiti. He's had it bad. Why didn't I ever know? Iruka felt sick of not checking on the blonde. I didn't really see him until the Mizuki incident a couple days ago. He entered Naruto's bedroom and turning on the light he winced. The dresser was knocked over and clothes were scattered all over the place. Iruka was turning to go when he saw something that stopped him. On Naruto's sleeping roll was an envelope atop Naruto's Hite 8, the one he gave him after beating Mizuki. Naruto wouldn't have left this behind. Iruka thought as he picked up the envelope and headband. He looked around and saw the pictures Naruto had been proud of were smashed on the floor. Did Naruto do this? Or was someone lying in wait for him? Iruka wondered as he left the desiccated apartment, fear blooming in his heart at the thoughts of what could have happened to the blonde. I best get this to the Hokage. Iruka thought of the envelope that was addressed in Naruto's messy hand writing to the Hokage. Iruka felt his stomach drop, as he'd been unable to find the blonde for the first time since he started chasing him when he became his academy instructor or his regular times as a chunin. Please be okay, Naruto. Don't let what Kakashi said to you force you to do something that could be dangerous. He said to himself. Sarutobi looked at the letter for the third time since Iruka had brought Itand Naruto's headband back. He couldn't believe it. Dear Hokage, I guess I should address you properly at least once. I've decided that Jonin Kakashi Hitaki was right. I do not belong in Konoha, and I should accept the fact I will never be allowed to be a ninja. It's okay, I've come to terms with it. I should have seen it the first 2 times. Hell, even when Iruka-sensei put his Hite 8 on me after I stole the scroll from Mizuki Teme. I guess it's time. No one will ever see me as anything but the Kyuubi, and I will never get a fair deal in Konoha. I'm tired, Oji-san. Tired of the hate, tired of the beatings, tired of coming home to find the roach-infested apartment vandalized. I'm just so tired. So, I'm leaving. Since I never was a ninja I can never be marked as a missing nin, and as a civilian, well, who cared? You, an old man and his daughter at the ramen stand were the only ones to actually care. Iruka did after the scroll incident, but it was too late. I'm leaving. Face it, Oji-san. Where could I get a job in Konoha? Who would hire me? I'm not even allowed to shop for food or clothes. Could you see me working anywhere in town fairly? Take care of yourself. You were the only family I knew of or had for as long as I could remember, and even that wasn't much as the village always came first over the cries of a lonely child. I might come back someday to visit. Know that I'll miss you. Tell Iruka-sensei he can have his headband back. I'm sorry I was a lousy student. Tell old man Tucci and his daughter Ayame, I'll miss them and their wonderful ramen. Tell the rest of Konoha to kiss my ass. They never saw me, and they never knew me. And now, I hope they all rot in hell. Goodbye, Oji-san. Naruto Uzumaki. Beneath the boy's signature was a chibi Naruto. He's gone. He's left Konoha. Sarutobi nearly panicked. But then he thought maybe those was for the better. With Naruto gone he could live a peaceful life and not have to check his food for poison or keep looking over his shoulder. And then there was the fact that if he did come back the civilians and some ninja would treat him worse than before, and the note said that he would probably visit, so there was no worries. Sarutobi looked at the stack of papers. Damn, and he was the only one who could have taken this job from me. He thought. Then he looked out over the village. Good luck in the world, Naruto. Hope you come and visit this old man, he thought. Miles away, Naruto Uzumaki with a simple pack slung over his shoulder walked the road. He walked out the gates of Konoha. The gate guard waved and said, "Good riddance." While Naruto's response was to give the Chunin the finger before running into the bushes while the man swore after him. Naruto kept the kunai that were thrown as they were in better shape than the ones he salvaged. See, already off to a better start, the blonde thought. He stopped at Tanzuka town and bought some newer clothes. I like orange, but that was my old life. He thought buying tan cargo pants, a black t-shirt and a new jacket that was like his old one, but it was black as well. Shopping had been an experience for him as he'd bought new clothes and food at reasonable rates, and had plenty of money left over afterwards. His goggles were around his neck, and he had slipped the kunai holster around his thigh. He pulled out a picture of him and the Hokage at the ramen stand from his pocket and gazed at it. It was a picture of his precious people, the only ones to care about him. He touched a finger remembering it. In the picture Ayame kissed him on his cheek, while he was wearing the Hokage's hat. The Hokage next to him chuckling and old man Tucci was behind them holding a bowl of ramen in each hand over their heads with a grin. Goodbye, I'll miss you all, he thought, touching the picture once more before slipping it into his jacket. He slipped off the beaten path, his eyes on the future. It was several days before he reached the port town. He found a ship that would take him beyond the mists, but he needed more money. Looking at the message board, he saw it was filled with odd jobs. See, this is what normal people do. They don't expect ninja to do everything for them, he thought as he found several small jobs he could do. And I can do more than one job at once thanks to the shadow clones. He thought of the painting and lawn care jobs. Taking several flyers down, he created clones and sent them on to do the assigned jobs. He then took a flyer for himself and after finding the address took up the task of dishwasher at a stand. The pay wasn't much but it promised a place to sleep as well as 2 meals a day. I'll get money and take the first ship out in a month, he thought after learning that the ship that went to the world beyond the mists that kept the elemental nations separated from the rest of the world. The stand he found out was going out of business in the week and he had to find another job, which wasn't hard. He worked for a woman that created fireworks and the pay was well since the product had the off chance of exploding. Kohaku as she was called showed him that she'd lost her right arm when she first started when she made a batch too strong and it exploded when her brother had entered the shop smoking. A stray ash had set the whole thing off. Ha 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 ha, I was lucky. All I lost was my arm, my hair and had light burns over half my body. She told Naruto as he packed a rocket. The two were friends and despite his clones, Naruto found the other jobs didn't pay as much as he liked since he had to rent an apartment and food. The amount I pay for the apartment here wouldn't have even paid a day's rent back in Konoha. Just shows how much I was being screwed there, he thought. Kohaku was next to him, her pipe was in her mouth, but not lit as she was working as well. Despite the pay not many people wanted to work around things that go boom. So, you a ninja? She asked. Naruto shook his head. No, he said as headed the fuse in and sighed. I failed the academy 3 times, and no one wanted me in my village, so I left. No one? Kohaku asked. Naruto shook his head. I've been an orphan and I never knew my parents. The orphanage threw me out when I was 5. If it wouldn't have been for the Hokage, I would have died that winter. He got me an apartment and a monthly allowance, but it didn't matter. Why? Kohaku asked and Naruto could see her curiosity. The villagers hated me, and for the longest time I never knew why. Naruto said softly. But you know now? Naruto nodded. You don't have to tell me, kiddo. I'm just glad you're willing to help, she said around her pipe. May I ask you something? He asked. She nodded. Your pipe. Why do you carry it and put it in your mouth, but never light it? She laughed. It was my grandfather's and it's a comfort. He taught me how to make fireworks, she said. When he passed away I use it to keep him close. Naruto smiled at her look. Now, let's finish this crate and I'll buy you lunch but only 3 bowls of ramen, she said. The first day she'd found out how much he could eat he'd downed 20 bowls when she offered to buy him lunch. Naruto laughed at this. Sorry about that again. It's just I hadn't found anywhere that made ramen as great as Ichiraku's and I'll admit Goroichi's is close. Kohaku smirked. It's alright. I should really watch it when I offer something. She wrapped another tube. Truthfully I thought you were going to ask me about my arm. Naruto shrugged. I'm curious, but it's cool. I mean I never knew prosthetics could move like that. Kohaku smiled. They usually don't. Usually the surgeons can connect some of the nerves. I was lucky. I was saved by the greatest medics around, and she fixed me up and she knew someone who could make me an arm. Naruto listened as Kohaku continued. Well, she managed to attach all the nerves and I was amazed at the amount of control the muscle and nerve attachments had. She handed him another rocket to put in the box. So, you gonna stay around here? She asked. No, I plan on using the money I make to buy a ticket on that steamship. Naruto said. The one that goes beyond the veil? Kohaku asked and Naruto nodded. I figure if I'm going to have a fresh start it should be as far away from my village as possible. He said, wrapping another tube after loading the powder. You certain you want to go? I hear the world there is vastly different than our own. Naruto nodded. I need to start fresh. Somewhere where they never heard of me. He said, editing what he was going to say with the word, demon, or, Kyuubi. Kohaku continued to work and would look at the whisker-marked blonde with her. Konoha, Hokage's office. Hiruzen Sarutobi scowled at the three biggest pains in his ass. The answer is no, he said. Hiruzen, we must do this. To let it run loose. His name is Naruto and you can't place him in the bingo book. He was flushed from the ninja program by Kakashi Hitaki. He said, and no one could question the anger in his voice. So he can't be placed in the bingo book, and that is for traitors and criminals, not for 16-year-old boy who is a civilian and left the village. Danzo, Kaharu and Homura all looked at him, and Heel most grinned at the frustration radiating off all three of them. There was a knock on the door and one person he did want to see entered. Iruka, please wait, the Hokage said and looked at the pains in his ass. This meeting is over. You will not issue anything on or about Naruto Uzumaki. You do and I will have the three of you executed, am I clear? They looked like they swallowed something foul. Leave, the Hokage ordered, and once they did with a glare at him, he sealed the door and activated the security seals. Iruka walked towards the aging Hokage and stood in front of him. I found him. He boarded a ship to the other world yesterday. If I leave now I can get on the next ship and bring him back, he said as he looked at the commander of the ninja forces of Konoha. But the Hokage shook his head in a no. Iruka looked at the Hokage. In a almost understanding, you don't want to bring him back? The Hokage sighed. Nope, we have no right to bring him back. His whole life was nothing but hatred and to drag him back to this is suicide. Iruka nodded. He'd used a henge to go around Naruto for 3 days. What he'd learned had sickened him. He'd remembered who they were, and then with Anko from the interrogation department and a squad of Anbu with the Hokage's orders began to arrest everyone who had overcharged and attacked Iruka while he was disguised. I wish I could have seen him before he left, he said. Me too, my boy. Me too, the Hokage said. Port Town. Kohaku smirked as Naruto looked at the supplies. Are you certain? I could. Kid, you helped me meet my deadline as well as numerous extras for the shop. This is the least I can do, she said, patting him on the back with her prosthetic hand. It had been a month and he'd enjoyed his time with the strange woman. You got your ticket? She asked. Yeah, right here, he said, patting the inner pocket of his jacket. His pack held clothes, travel rations, and Hispe Kohaku had gotten converted to gold bars since the money was different in the world beyond the mist and he would have to get the gold exchange. You know, I think a lot of the shops around here are going to miss you, kid. You kept things light, friendly and did awesome work. Naruto scratched the back of his head. Ah, it was nothing, he said sheepishly. I just treated customers how I would like to be treated when I shop and went from there. Kohaku handed him a package. What's this? He asked. Smoke bombs, minor explosives. She gave him a glove that he recognized as the one she would wear to create a spark to light fuses. You remember how to use this? She asked. Onda nodded, putting the ring with the flint and tinder on his thumb and forefinger of his left hand. I can't take all this. You can and will. Use them for defense, and there's some for enjoyment as well. She grinned. If you were just a few years older, she said with a grin. Naruto shook his head. Shameless flirt, he said. You bet your sweet ass I am. Kohaku said with a grin. Give me a hug, brat. She pulled him into a spine-cracking hug. He allowed it and was wrapping his own arms around her when he jumped and glared at her. Watch it. No playing grab ass. She laughed and hugged him tighter. Take care, Naruto. I'd hate to hear you got hurt. Send a letter every so often. He nodded and backed away after she released him. You take care, he told her before joining those boarding the ship. I will, Kohaku said softly. In the month he'd worked for her, he'd been hard-working, fun and energetic and never complained. Wish there were a million like you, she said, and waited until the boarding ramp was pulled up and the ship left the docks. It was on the horizon before she turned and headed back to her house and shop, wiping away the annoying tear. Damn dust in my eye, she muttered as she walked the streets. Already the town seemed quieter, less cheerful without the blonde. Whatever village he was from, they were fools for treating him like shit and tossing him aside. I hope someday I can have a kid like him, she thought, and closed the door to her shop with a smile on her face. On board the ship, Naruto was smiling. Today marked RHE Day. He would live a good life. Yeah, he left Konoha, but he always knew that the Conical would try some way as to get him back. He was actually surprised when no hunter nin came after him. Well timed to get a good night's sleep. Who knows what's on the other side of the mist? He thought as he turned to walk away from the railing, but as he did he accidentally bumped into somebody. He looked at the person as they kept going. Sorry, he said, but the person just waved him off and kept walking. Naruto shrugged. As he kept walking he looked at the ground and saw a magazine. Thinking the person that he bumped dropped it, he picked it up and turned to give it to the man, but the man was gone. Weird, he thought. Then he looked at the magazine and opened it. Duel monsters, he thought. It is the 15th day aboard the ship, and Naruto was content with the books he'd bought and was also studying the 3 school books he'd stolen when he was denied access to new books in Konoha, and the books he'd been given had been gutted of anything useful. He saw where the teachers had tried to mess him. Pant scowled as he thought of all the people who tried to keep him down and push him into the gutter. I'm glad I'm out of there. I've not been attacked once nor called demon since I've been with the merchants he'd met and the smiles they'd given him. The items he'd bought were new and the food was fresh. It was a new experience being outside of Konoha, and it had solidified his decision to not look back. He had a letter and mailed it an hour before boarding the ship. Oji-san should have it and know that I am gone. I hope he and old man Ichiraku and Ayame-chan will forgive me. He would miss them, but 3 people who had lives of their own could not ease the pain he had been in while he lived in Konoha. I knew old man Ichiraku gave me a discount on the ramen. Naruto thought as he'd eaten with Kohaku several times and he saw the amount it cost. He had learned to stay at 5 bowls since then, and the fireworks maker had him eating healthier too, and he found there was a wide range of foods he now liked. And candy. Rock candy, caramel, there are so many things I was denied in Konoha, he thought. His eyes went back to the book he had bought. It was about the outside world. So many things sounded interesting. Duel monsters sounds cool, he said, reading the recent history, and the more he read about the worldwide game the more he liked it. The more he read about the worldwide game the more he liked it. Ah, but it'll be a while before I can get money to buy cards, a duel disc, he thought as he made his list of things he'd do. First thing is to get a job and a place to live. He thought of the gold bars that were safely secured and wrapped in the bottom of his bag and that never left his back. He hid it with a hinge so it looked like his jacket. He read up and learned the languages and smiled and was glad that the old man had taught him the basics in several when he was younger. He made it a game, and the better I learned the more ramen I got. Naruto thought. Some of the tech looks awesome. Cell phones for one thing. And the technology used around duel monsters is something. KC is one of the biggest contributors. Naruto read up about Seto Kaiba and his brother, along with Pegasus Crawford, the man behind the game, as well as the information about Yugi Muto, the king of games, who won the title at Duelist Kingdom and reconfirmed it during Battle City set up by Kaiba Corporation. Shaking his head he sighed. It's a dream that will have to wait, he thought, putting the book about the game away and picking up the language book. He had a lot to do and they would be in port tomorrow. Pier. Naruto looked at the docks as the rest of the passengers had already left. He shouldered his pack and slowly began to walk. The famous Battle City. I wonder if I'll get to see any duels, he thought as he walked. He saw numerous flyers and the city was teeming with people, many talking or just hanging about. Naruto got to see a duel as a kid younger than him fought against a guy with a deck of warriors against the variety of bugs. Naruto watched for a bit and sighed, wishing he could join in, but he needed to find a place to sleep and a job. He passed by the more pristine buildings, many sporting the KC logo, and many sported another logo, but he wasn't certain what it meant. He saw it was getting darker and slipped down an alley for a shortcut. I really need a map, Naruto thought. He'd read that Battle City never slept and apartments were cheap as was housing. I'll need to find a bank I doubt any are open this late at night, he thought as he walked. Hearing a sound that was very familiar, he peered around a corner and saw a group of toughs around a man in a suit and long silver hair. Gentlemen, if you're dissatisfied with the duels, then you should take it up with a judge. Don't give us that, you made him, a tough guy said. I did, but if you don't know how to play properly, Perhaps you should go to the Duelist Academy offered by the Kaiba Corporation. I hear they have great classes. The man with the hair said. Naruto thought the man sounded far too sophisticated to be in this part of town, but he had read that people from all walks of life played duel monsters. He saw the man's duel disc was lying on the ground broken and the toughs were still wearing theirs. I could walk away, Naruto thought. It has nothing to do with me. For all I know, the guy cheated. Naruto watched as one of the toughs laugh. It was a laugh that Naruto knew well. It was the laugh of a bully that knew he had friends to help him and that no one was coming to help. I just want to find a place to sleep. Was that too much to ask? He looked up at the sky and shaking his head pulled the kunai he'd acquired leaving Konoha and forming the cross seal focused his chakra. Mass Cage Bunshin. Hey, wonders. Naruto called as his clones used chakra to walk the walls and stand above the bullies. The leader turned and saw Naruto. What did y'all want, kid? We're busy. Leave him alone, Naruto said. Why should we? Y'all know who this is, kid? Naruto shook his head. Not a clue. But being a bully and attacking someone for no reason will only cause trouble in the end. We have a reason, a tough said. Naruto was amazed none of them sensed his clones and not one looked up. The lousy cards don't do as they're advertised. Please, the silver-haired man said in an annoyed tone. You lost your duels fair and square. Just because you don't know how to chain attacks and traps together or the proper way to play your monsters is no one's problem but your own. This is about you losing a game? Naruto asked in disbelief. Shaking his head, he looked at the gathered toughs. I'll give you to the count of 5 to apologize and leave, or else. Or else what, kid? You gonna bite our ankles? The leader asked with a sneer. Naruto shook his head and sighed. Or else I'll kick your asses. The leader snorted. You and what army, kid? Naruto pointed up and they followed it to see over 100 blondes looking exactly like the one standing before them. Me and my army, Naruto said. What the? Boss, am I drunk? Another thug asked. We ain't had anything all day. Another said. Shut up, the leader said. It's probably a hologram, like with the monsters. Naruto shook his head and leapt to attack. He pulled his punch and was surprised the man still went flying. Man, they're weaker than a first-year academy student, Naruto thought as the others were soon put down by his clones. The man with silver hair looked at him with a raised eyebrow. Very impressive, my boy. Thank you for stopping them. No problem, Naruto said and went to pick up his pack. You don't have a duel disc? The man asked as Naruto's clones dispersed. Nah, just got into port and I don't have money, much less a place to live. Naruto said with a shrug. If you know where there's a bank so I can exchange currency and find a place to stay, it would be helpful. Naruto said. My boy, I could do no less than give you a place to stay, but for saving me like that you must allow me to build you a deck. Not the free starter deck they hand out, no. That just simply won't do. The man walked around Naruto and looked him up and down. Tell me, my boy, has anyone ever said you give off the vibe of a dragon? Naruto blinked. What do you mean by that? What the hell is he talking about? Strong-willed, powerful him. The man brushed his hair aside, showing a patch. Yes, I've been inspired once more. Come with me, the man said, taking Naruto's shoulder and dragging him along. Hey, wait a minute, I don't even know who you are, Naruto said. Oh, the man seemed surprised then smiled. Well then, allow me to introduce myself. Naruto blinked as he recognized the name from the book he'd read on the ship. Pegasus dragged Naruto a block where they were met by a limousine and several guards stepped forward. Sir, everything is fine now thanks to my young friend here. Pegasus paused. What is your name? Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki, the blonde said as the silver-haired man dragged him to the car. My walk was interrupted until Naruto here stepped in and dealt with the riffraff. Pegasus said. Naruto saw the guards exchanged looks. Now, then, take us to the apartment. Pegasus said and smirked at Naruto. Naruto, my boy, you with my guidance will be a force in the game of duel monsters like only one person I've ever seen before. Morning arrived and Naruto stretched as he had slept one of the best nights he'd ever had. The bed felt like he slept on clouds. He rolled over and saw it was well after 9 in the morning. Taking the time to shower and put on fresh clothes, Naruto wandered around the penthouse. The roof was all glass, which lit up the room fully. There was comfortable furniture and even a few displays of art. Good morning, sir. Naruto turned and saw a butler. Master Crawford asked that you enjoy his hospitality as long as you wish. He's currently in his workroom. Thanks. Naruto looked at the man uncertain. Breakfast on the patio. The butler said and gestured with an arm for Naruto to follow, and the blonde had to agree. I am hungry. He thought as he followed the man and saw that the penthouse had a patio as well as a beautiful garden. Naruto recognized some of the statues as replicas of duel monsters. The fountain was a blue-eyed white dragon. He ate the literal feast and read the local magazine, which was full of duel results from all over Battle City. He noted that the magazine came with booster pack, but left it alone as it did belong to Pegasus. The man had asked him several questions last night, and after bidding him good night, Naruto wondered what the man was planning as he wrote down several things and smiled as he muttered. Reading up on Battle City news, Naruto saw there was an ad for employment at a couple of stores and shops around the city. There were ads for apartments, but Naruto saw that the rent was negotiable and he wondered what that meant. Reading the magazine that came out once a week, he read that new duelists were given a base deck and duel disc. They needed to register at one of the 5 card shops around the city. He also saw that Battle City didn't run on money, it ran on DP or duel points, which were little gold stars. Naruto spent the morning reading the magazine and saw that several national champions now resided in Battle City. Raptor and the others sound like they specialize. The American sounds weird with her teddy bear. Then the local heroes. From his talk with Pegasus, the man admired Yugi Muto and his circle of friends. And he's not very fond of the Kaiba brothers. He thought. Lunch came and went and still no sign of Pegasus. Naruto watched some television, but it was either news or duel footage. He watched a match between some kid with a blue arrow design on his head and using a deck of flying type monsters and healing and support take on a kid with warrior types and traps. It is drawn out fight and ended with the arrow marked kid winning simply because his opponent ran out of cards. That, and he had 6,500 life points left while the other kid only had 2,350. Naruto was still intrigued by the game, and it seemed to rule the world as he saw a broadcast from Japan, and they not only had duels, but a show about a kid using duel monster cards to trap other monsters to build their decks. There was even talk shows about duel monsters, and money and duel points seemed to be acceptable credit. Shaking his head, he told the butler he was going for a walk and would be back later. He got lost twice, but he found a shop and got a book of rules and regulations. He was asked if he wanted to get a starter deck, but he said he'd be back later. He wanted to learn more about it before he got involved. He did find a bank and opened an account and had the gold exchanged for both money and duel points, along with getting a bank card and papers. Naruto found a park and saw kids playing the game, many without the duel discs, but they used the public duel platforms. He watched and learned even more, and as the sun was setting he headed back to the penthouse. He arrived to find a smiling Pegasus waiting for him with a suitcase and a huge grin. Naruto, my boy, I'm glad you returned. I have just come back from the printer and am proud to present to you your Red Eyes Black Dragon deck. Naruto looked at the man as he pulled out a deck and shuffled it before pulling out a card. Allow me to introduce to you the only Red Eyes Ultimate card in existence, and it is yours. Naruto looked at the card and deep in his mind something gave an approving growl. The image was of a ferocious 3-headed black dragon with 6 glowing red eyes. Pegasus smiled. I made this deck especially for you. I call it the Red Eyes War Dragon deck. It's powerful and I hope you can use it to the fullest. He handed the card to Naruto, who was enchanted with the image. It felt right to him and he looked at Pegasus. I can't accept this. It's too much. Nonsense, my boy. You saved my life. Building you a deck and teaching you to play is the least I can do. Pegasus said with a grin. Your duel disc will be here in the morning and we'll take you to get registered after breakfast. Naruto took the deck, but his eyes kept going back to the Red Eyes Ultimate card, and in his mind the spirit of the Kyuubi himself was pleased surprisingly. Naruto looked at the deck that Pegasus had specially made for him in one night he'd drawn up and had printed the deck that was now sitting on the nightstand. For several hours Pegasus taught him about his deck and answered questions and showed him the ins and outs of the dragon deck. Some of the cards will of course become mainstream, but there will be only one Red Eyes Ultimate Dragon card, and a couple of the other cards in your deck will be limited editions with maybe 50 cards made worldwide. Pegasus explained. Naruto found the man's Toon deck annoying. He did get a kick out of the Toon monsters and admitted that Pegasus was a great duelist. Don't you play anymore? Naruto asked. Alas, I rarely have the time anymore. But that is fine. I do enjoy seeing others enjoy the game more than anything. Pegasus had told him. Pegasus warned him to guard his cards. There were people who would try and steal them or trick him out of his cards. And for heaven's sake, never allow anyone to hold your cards, even if you think you know them. Poor Yugi boy lost the Exodia pieces, allowing others to hold his cards. They played for dual points. While Naruto got points, Pegasus just pushed them back at Naruto and called them learning experience. Naruto, sitting on his bed, reached out and picked up the deck. It would take him time to get used to the card game, but the cards like Dark Blade and others were already existing cards. He drew a card and saw that it was the Red Eyes Ultimate card. "What is it about you that calls to me?" he asked. With a sigh, he put the cards into the case and slipped them under his pillow. His head hit the pillow and he slipped into sleep, his right hand under the pillow, resting upon the cards. Mindscape. Naruto looked around at what looked like a sewer. It wasn't as bad as the sewer in Konoha. He knew that place firsthand as he used it to escape the villagers who wanted to hurt him. He saw that it looked like someone had recently begun to clean it up and he wished them the best of luck. He followed the tunnel for some time and realized there were no ladders or cross tunnels thus far. It's getting warmer, he thought as he followed the tunnel, which seemed to bend and there was a down slope. He walked for what seemed like hours and he came to a chamber which looked cleaner than the tunnels. There was a pool of water off to one side and he saw a gate with a seal. "So, you've finally come to talk," a voice said from the shadows behind the gate. Naruto blinked as a pair of red eyes opened and looked right at him. "Kyuubi," Naruto said. "Yes," the growling voice said from the shadows. "Listen, we're stuck with one another." Naruto began, but the fox in the shadows decided it wanted to speak first. "Listen to me, Kit. You're right, we're stuck with one another. But more than that, I am bound to you and you to me." The Shinigami did a hell of a job. The Kyuubi, still in the shadow, paused. "I am sorry how your life turned out. I've been awake a short time, and I've seen your memories." "How the hell can you do that?" Naruto asked. A tail poked out of the shadows, but stopped before crossing the gate and gestured towards the pool. "I can see your memories when you sleep. It is my only real connection to the world outside. My chakra has flooded your system, as designed by the blonde that sealed me here. You have developed several abilities that will pass on to your children. The healing factor, enhanced senses, reflexes. That's well and good, but," Naruto started, but the fox continued cutting him off. "And I have become your dual spirit." "Say what?" Naruto asked, blinking. The Kyuubi sighed behind the gate. "This game, Duel Monsters, isn't new. It is old, older than I. In times past it used to be used for domination and control. Shadow games where the cost wasn't a couple pieces of metal or whatever else. It was fought for control of kingdoms, and the cost wasn't marks or rankings. If you lost a shadow game, you lost your soul." Naruto blinked. "That's intense to say the least. Duelists of old would make a pact, or a partnership with the spirit of their cards. I am yours. I will help guide you in duels, and if there is a shadow game, I will defend you." Naruto blinked. "Why? As I said, we are bound. And if I am to continue to exist, then your life is important to my own. Yes, in ways it sounds selfish, but in ways this is a partnership that will be beneficial to you." Naruto thought it out. "Are you influenced Pegasus in any way in trying to design your card?" The Kyuubi laughed. "No, I can't. That mortal can see things. I sense he was touched by a millennium piece." "Either the eye or the what?" Naruto asked. "Nothing to worry about right now, Kit. If they do come up, I'll tell you about them. Right now you need to learn how to duel, and listen to this Pegasus. He's got insight to the game if he's the one who brought it back." Naruto sighed. "Since I'm here, you care to tell me why you attacked Konoha?" "Not at this time, no. Maybe once we've gotten along longer. For now, rest, you're going to need it." Naruto sighed and he felt himself slipping into sleep for real this time. Next morning, Naruto looked at Pegasus. "So, I just wander around the city and challenge someone to a duel? That's all you need to do. And my cards are registered?" Pegasus smiled. "I did that as soon as the first batch came off the press. You won't have any trouble, except for duelists who never seen your cards before." "Meaning everyone," Naruto muttered. They'd spent the morning with Naruto dueling a couple of Pegasus's employees to get the general idea, and they just registered him and got his duelist's ID. "You're not going to follow me, are you?" Naruto asked, stepping away. Pegasus laughed. Naruto sighed and walked off. Pegasus looked at tone of his guards. Follow and record any duels he's interested in and those he takes part in. Yes sir, the guard said and wandered off. Sir, you have your 1 o'clock with the Chamberlain. His aide reminded him. Yes, yes. Work before pleasure. Naruto wandered around. His dual disc got some looks as it was midnight with a red tint. He clenched his fingerless gloved hand and wondered if he could go back and practice for a couple more days. He was wearing black cargo pants and a blood-red mesh muscle shirt under his black sleeveless sweatjacket. His hair was spiked and his goggles were around his neck. He saw several duels taking place around as usual. He stopped at a cafe and bought an iced coffee while he looked at a paper he picked up. He marked several apartments that sounded promising. He was just about to read the daily duel results that were posted when someone stepped before his table. Nice looking dual disc you got there. I didn't think we could customize them. Naruto looked up to see a woman with short spiky brown hair, a feather earring and a battle vest. She had the standard dual disc and her hands were on her skirt-covered hips. It was given to me as a gift. Naruto said. You know how to duel? She asked. Just started. Naruto admitted. She gave him a predatory grin. I'll put up 200 duel points to fight you. Naruto sighed and pulled out his pouch. Fine. He finished his iced coffee and folded the paper and slipped it into his jacket. Here? He asked. She nodded. I'm Nikki. Naruto. He said as he flicked on his dual disc and reached inside his jacket and pulled his deck out and shuffled it. It's time to duel. They both put their 200 duel points aside and Naruto watched the meter activate. 8,000. Naruto slipped his deck into the holder and then drew 5 cards. Aurora's LP. 8,000. Naruto's LP. 8,000. Since I'm the one who challenged, I'll go first. Usually we flip a coin or sometimes rock, paper, scissors. Aurora said and drew a card. Naruto looked on as she bit her lip. I'll place this card face down in defense and another card face down. She looked at him. Your turn. Before her was a face-down monster card and behind it either a trap, item or spell card. Naruto drew a card and looked at what he had in his hand. He grinned as he put down a card. I summoned Dark Blade. 4, 1,800 600s. In attack mode and placed 2 cards face down. He said placing the trap, magic or item cards. The hologram shimmered and a man with black gothic armor and red dots for eyes and holding 2 grim-looking swords. He saw the look of surprise of Aurora's face at the appearance of the monster. He went in to strike. Dark Blade, attack the face-down monster. Aurora smiled and nodded. I activate negate attack. Trap, counter, she said flipping the face-down card. Naruto's hand twitched, but he held off whatever he was going to do. Your turn, he said. Aurora. 1 face down. Naruto. 2 face down. Dark Blade ATK, 1800. Aurora's LP. 8,000. Naruto's LP. 8,000. He watched as Aurora drew a card and put another monster card face down. She doesn't have anything yet that can go toe-to-toe with Dark Blade. But she might have something in her hand that needs a sacrifice. He thought as she looked at them. I end my turn. Naruto nodded and drew a card. His smile grew. I call forth Blade Knight in attack mode. 4, 1,600 1,000. He saw Aurora looking on as the purple warrior in gothic armor appeared and glared at her with a grin on his face. Naruto wasn't done. I activate the spell and field spell card Banner of Courage and give my monsters a boost. Aurora looked on as the powered gothic warrior. What the hell? She asked. New cards that are coming out. Naruto said with a shrug. I have a friend who got me the first batch. Naruto said in explanation. Naruto looked at Aurora. If you're wondering, a lot of the cards are just coming out and some are going to take a couple of days or months. He told her and she nodded. Aurora. 2 face down. Naruto. 2 face downs. Dark Blade ATK. 2,000. Blade Knight ATK. 1,500. Blade Knight attack. Naruto said the hologram attacked one of the face-down monster to reveal Air Marmot of Nefariousness. 2, 400 600s. The beast was destroyed, but since it was in defense, Aurora escaped without damage. Naruto looked at her remaining monster card and called, Dark Blade, attack. The gothic warrior seemed to smile and ran towards the face-down card and attacked the other card, which flipped over to reveal another Air Marmot. 2, 400 600s. Once again Aurora was spared damage but her monster was destroyed. Naruto looked at her. Sorry about this. I revile one of my face-down's reinforcement of the army and with it add a warrior type to my hand which I summon Dark Blade, now Dark Blade direct attack. Aurora felt the tingling from the dual disc and hissed as she watched her life points drop. I put another card face down and end my turn. Aurora. 0 face down. Naruto. 2 Dark Blades ATK, 2000 Blade Knight, 1501 face down. Aurora's LP. 6000. Naruto's LP. 8000. Both duelists ignored the growing crowd who saw the growing battle. Aurora drew a card and smiled. Something good I hope, Naruto said. Oh yeah, Aurora said. But for now I put Giant Soldier of Stone, 3, 1300 2000, in defense mode, and 2 cards face down, ending my turn. Aurora said. Naruto looked at the stone monster that was kneeling and knew it would take some effort to get around it. Aurora. 2 face down, Giant Soldier of Stone Death, 2000. Naruto. 2 Dark Blades ATK, 2000 Blade Knight, 1801 face down. Aurora's LP. 6000. Naruto's LP. 8000. Naruto drew a card. I summoned Dark Blade, 4, 1500, in defense mode. Naruto said and another black gothic warrior with red eyes came onto the field. I see you've got the whole Dark Warriors thing going I see. Aurora said. Naruto smirked. You ain't seen nothing yet. Naruto said and looked at the 2 cards in his hand that he was planning on unveiling soon. I just hope Pegasus is ready for the amount of calls he's going to be getting. Shaking his head he ended his turn. Aurora. 2 face down, Giant Soldier of Stone Death, 2000. Naruto. 3 Dark Blades ATK, 2000 Blade Note, 1801 face down. Aurora's LP. 6000. Naruto's LP. 8000. Aurora drew a card and rearranged her hand. I put another Giant Soldier of Stone, 3, 1300 2000, in defense mode and end my turn. Aurora. 2 face down, Giant Soldier of Stone Death, 2000, Giant Soldier of Stone Death, 2000. Naruto. 3 Dark Blades ATK, 2000 Blade Knight, 1801 face down. Aurora's LP. 6000. Naruto's LP. 8000. Naruto looked at the cards she had on the field and he did a quick calculation and nodded to himself. Then he took another card from his deck and looked at it then his hand this battle was over. For the record I'm sorry I scarifies Buster Blade to summon Red Eyes the Black Dragon, Naruto said as he looked at his Buster Bladed who quickly looked back at him and smiled before disappearing. Then a black mist spread in front of Naruto as a black dragon with red eyes and black wings launched up from it but Naruto was not down just yet. Next I scarifies both the red eyes and the summoned skull in my hand to bring Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon then I activate my face down card Swords of Reveling Light. Everyone looked on as a huge black dragon with black wings and bone armor materialized on the field and towered over all then with a horrifying roar took flight. Aurora looked up. You got to be shitting me, she said as everyone stared at the black demon dragon. As you know the effect of the Swords of Revealing Light and that for the next 3 turns your monsters are locked in position. Aurora looked on at the black dragon with skull armor. What the hell is that? Naruto smiled as he looked up proudly. That is the Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon. A dragon, fusion monster. I was given to by a friend but for now Black Skull take out one of those giants. Everyone watched as the Black Skull Dragon let out another roar and blasted one of the Soilders with black flames. But Aurora was unharmed as her monster was in defense position. Naruto looked at his hand and pulled out a card and said. Sorry for this I use the spell card Monster Reborn and call back Red Eyes Black Dragon now I also use the spell card Rush recklessly on Dark Blade giving it 700 attack points giving it 2700 attack points now Dark Blade attacked the other Giant Soldier of Stone. Another Red Eyes appeared and from what Naruto Dark Blade smiled and then disappeared before reappearing above the giant stone soldier in the middle with both of his blades and slashed down but again Aurora suffered no damage. Naruto took 1 card from his hand, then I lay this card down and end my turn. Aurora. 2 face down, Giant Soldier of Stone Death, 2000. Naruto. 1 face down, 3 Dark Blades 80, 2000 Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon 80, 3400 Red Eyes Black Dragon ATK, 2600. Aurora's LP, 6200. Naruto's LP, 8000. Aurora looked at the cards in her hand and with a shaking hand drew a new card. Naruto saw from here that it wasn't something she wanted as she was basically trapped by the sword's effect. She put a card down and ended her turn. Aurora. 3 face down, Giant Soldier of Stone Death, 2000. Naruto. 1 face down, 3 Dark Blades 80, 2000 Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon 80, 3400 Red Eyes Black Dragon ATK, 2600, effect 1/3 turns. Aurora's LP, 6200. Naruto's LP, 8000. Naruto drew his card and then Aurora watched as he smiled. It was a good duel. Aurora first I scarifies 1 Dark Blade to summon 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon. The middle Dark Blade disappeared and in its place a Red Eyes appeared. Now Black Skull Dragon take out the Giant Soldier. Naruto ordered and the final Soldier of Stone joined its brothers in Aurora's graveyard. Naruto then had the last Dark Blade do a direct attack and Aurora's health dropped 2700 and the Red Eyes Black Dragon followed with another direct attack taking another 2600. Aurora. 3 face down. Naruto. 1 face down, Dark Blades 80, 2700 Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon 80, 3400 Red Eyes Black Dragon ATK, 2600, effect 1/3 turns. Aurora's LP, 900. Naruto's LP, 8000. I end my turn. Naruto announced. Aurora pulled a card and looked at it. I use a pot of greed, magic, and draw 2 cards. She looked at what she pulled and sighed. I use graceful charity, magic, and draw 3 more cards. She said and then following the requirements of charity's effect discarded 2 cards. I put a monster card face down in defense mode, and activate the spell card Red Medicine, magic, and activate the spell card Swords of Revealing Light, magic, and with that I end my turn. Aurora said. Aurora. 3 face down, Swords of Revealing Light, effect 0/3 turns. Naruto. 1 face down, Dark Blades 80, 2700 Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon 80, 3400 Red Eyes Black Dragon ATK, 2600, effect 2/3 turns. Aurora's LP, 1400. Naruto's LP, 8000. Naruto smirked. So this is a waiting game now. He said drawing a card. Aurora shrugged. I need time. Some of the cards you have are powerful and I just want to take the time to figure out a strategy and that means keeping that big boy stable while I think. Naruto smirked at what she called Kyuubi. What do you think, Fox? He thought. Grr. Beat her ass. She's wasting our time, the mental voice of the fox growled. It'll have to wait 3 turns. Naruto thought with a smile. While he couldn't attack, he could marshal his forces. He drew a card. I scarifies my last Dark Blade to summon 1 Red Eyes Black Dragon in attack mode and then I scarifies him to summon 1 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon. He smiled which said Aurora's Duelist tick then I sacrifice one of my Red Eyes to summon Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. As he said that his Red Eyes disappeared only to be replaced by Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon. This is the part where things can go south. Naruto thought of the long absences of battle. Aurora. 3 face down, Swords of Revealing Light, effect 1/3 turns. Naruto. Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon ATK, 3400 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon ATK, 2600 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon ATK, 3000 Swords of Revealing Light, effect 2/3 turns. Aurora's LP, 1400. Naruto's LP, 8000. Aurora drew a card and Naruto could nearly smell her frustration as she ended her turn without doing anything. The cards in her hand probably needs tributes in order to come to the field and with my removing the giants from the field I kicked that idea in the balls and plus with my Red Eyes on the field there is no way to put anything down he thought as he drew a card. I put Blade Knight, 2, 1800 1000, in defense mode and end my turn. Naruto said and knowing that this was the last turn for the Kyuubi's effect to last. Aurora. 3 face down, Swords of Revealing Light, effect 2/3 turns. Naruto. Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon ATK, 3400 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon ATK, 2600 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon ATK, 3000 Swords of Revealing Light. Effect 2/3 turns, Blade Knight Def, 1000. Aurora's LP, 1400. Naruto's LP, 8000. Aurora drew her card and sighed. I use the spell card Final Flame, Magic, for a direct attack on your life points. Naruto winced, feeling the tingle, and knew it wasn't bad as his life points dropped 600 points. I use the spell card Dark Magic Ritual, Magic, Ritual, and sacrifice 2 cards in my hand and the face-down monster and summon Magician of Black Chaos. 8, 2800 2600s, in attack position. Naruto watched as the spellcaster, Ritual Monster arrived on the field. He saw it look up at Red Eye's Black Dragon with a dark look. I also activate the spell card Book of Secret Arts, Magic, Equip, and equip it to Magician of Black Chaos. 8, 3100 2900s. Naruto growled. With the current boost it would wipe out his whole force. He looked at Aurora and saw that she looked more relaxed now that she had something that could go toe-to-toe with his dragons in attack power. Well, barely, but he didn't put it past her that she had something to help that problem. I end my turn, she said with a smirk. Aurora. 1 face down, Swords of Revealing Light. Effect 2/3 turns, Magician of Black Chaos ATK. 3100 Book of Secret Arts, Magic, Equip. Naruto. Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon ATK. 3400 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon ATK. 2600 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon ATK. 3000 Swords of Revealing Light. Effect 2/3 turns, Blade Knight Def, 1000. Aurora's LP, 3950. Naruto's LP, 7400. Naruto drew a card and smiled. In his hand he had a card that was going to ruin her day. Why is it I don't think alike what's coming? Aurora asked. Naruto shrugged. Smart woman? I activate the spell card Stamping Destruction, spell. Aurora found out what that was when her and Book of Secret Arts cards vanished. Oh god damn it, she said in realization as she saw that his monsters could now attack the moment he ended, and without the book her magician's stats were back to normal and she saw that he wouldn't survive, and with him in attack mode she was boned. I end, he said. Aurora. 1 face down, Magician of Black Chaos ATK, 2800. Naruto. Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon ATK, 3400 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon ATK, 2600 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon ATK, 3000 Swords of Revealing Light. Effect 2/3 turns, Blade Knight Def, 1000. Aurora's LP, 1400. Naruto's LP, 7400. Aurora pulled out a card hopping for something but got nothing, then she gulped and asked, you wouldn't destroy a lady on her 3rd duel, now would you? Aurora asked. Naruto put a finger to his chin as if in thought. Yeah, sorry, but I need to win. He looked at Black Skull Dragon. Black Skull, take out the Magician of Black Chaos. The dragon roared and then blasted the magician with black flames. It exploded in a shower of light, and with the difference in attack power Aurora's life points took the 600-point difference, and she bit her lip as the shock hit her from the dual disc. Aurora. 1 face down, Naruto. Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon ATK, 3400 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon ATK, 2600 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon ATK, 3000 Swords of Revealing Light. Effect 3/3 turns, Blade Knight Def, 1000. Aurora's LP, 800. Naruto's LP, 7400. I'm sorry Aurora, but this match is over. Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon attack her life points directly. Aurora winced as her life points took another hit, and she got shocked more as her life points dropped 3000 points, leaving her at 0. Aurora yelled out as the shock hit her and her life points went to 0. Aurora. 1 face down, Naruto. Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon ATK, 3400 Red Eyes Darkness Dragon ATK, 2600 Red Eyes Darkness Metal Dragon ATK, 3000 Swords of Revealing Light. Blade Knight Def, 1000. Aurora's LP, 0. Naruto's LP, 7400. Naruto collected his cards and put them back into his deck and put that away while shutting off his dual disc. He looked at Aurora and knew from his losses to Pegasus how much that shock hurt. It was incentive for a person to win. He collected the duel points and slipped them into a separate bag and into another inner pocket. He approached Aurora and when she looked at him, offered her his hand. "Good duel," he said. She looked at his hand and straightened. "Good duel? Were you paying attention? You kicked my ass." Naruto's grin faded. "There's no reason to get mad." "The hell there isn't. You come here with a special deck and think it's nothing." Aurora said. "Hey, you and everyone else has the same chances to make a deck. As I told you while we dueled, that a lot of the cards will be released." Aurora growled. Naruto just shook his head at that. "Look, don't get mad, there are other cards like mine. You just need to save it, Dragon Boy," Aurora said, putting her cards in the built-in holster and turned to walk away. But she stopped and looked over her shoulder. "I'll put a deck together and next time I'll kick your ass." Naruto smiled. "I look forward to dueling you again, Aurora." She walked away and Naruto realized she wasn't mad at him, she was mad because she hadn't built a proper deck. Naruto turned to listen as people clapped and many were talking about the dragon cards and many were planning on hitting the card shops. Naruto pulled the paper out and looked at it. "As nice as Pegasus's penthouse is, I'm scared I'll break something priceless. Now let's see, duel, rent? This I've got to see," he thought as he stopped to get a sandwich and soda to go. "Who knew dueling makes me hungry? It's like being a ninja." Adrenaline and excitement all in a game of strategy. Walking down the street, Naruto whistled a jaunty tune as his life beyond the veil was positive, and the best thing was, people weren't throwing things at him or calling him demon or monster. Apartment. The dual rent option had been fun. Old Baba Onder's spellcaster deck had been tough, but he ended up winning and only having to pay 100 DP a month. The apartment came stocked with appliances, furniture and even some dishes. The only thing he had to buy was clothes, food, and he would be set. "You like it?" Baba asked. "Yeah," Naruto said. The living room was rather large and the balcony gave him a great view of the city. The kitchen was small and there was only one bedroom, but it was nearly as big as his apartment in Konoha. He looked at her. "Are you sure?" Baba laughed. "Child, Battle City was built for duelists. Domino City is a mile away and many live there as well. I have a deal with the city. I can either charge $1,000 or duel points or duel you. The only reason you're paying 100 this month is mainly for paperwork processing." She laughed. "If I duel you next month, I have a feeling you'll be getting this place for free." Naruto scratched the back of his neck. He wasn't used to being treated fairly still. Kohaku's actions to him before crossing the veil notwithstanding. Thanks Baba." She waved a wrinkled hand. "I like you, kid. You're honest and I have a good feeling about you living here." She gave him the apartment key and there were 2 other keys on the ring. "The round one is for the mailbox downstairs," she explained. "The other is for the roof. It used to be a garden, but I'm too old and none of the other 3 tenants care." Naruto smiled. "You'll be the only one to have access if you wish," she said. He nodded as he was already forming ideas. "Only 3 other tenants?" he asked in surprise. The building had to have room for at least 10 if his apartment was anything to go by. A lot of duelists live at home still, and there are a more up-to-date apartment buildings. Baba told him how her building had been here before they built Battle City around the village that had been there. "We didn't have much, maybe a population of 500, she said. "When Kaiba Corporation built Battle City around us, it changed everything and brought a much-needed aid to us all." Naruto thanked her and told her to remind him when it was time to pay her duel. "I lose track of days," he explained. She chuckled and wished him well before heading back downstairs. Naruto needed to talk to Pegasus and get his bag. He looked around the place that would be his home and smiled. Crawford Penthouse. "Ah, Naruto my boy, how was your day out and about?" Pegasus said. He already knew but it was polite to ask. "Had some fun, won a duel," Naruto said after entering. "I know, we got a lot of calls about the Black Dragon deck," Pegasus said with a smile. "Card shops are eager to get the new cards." Naruto nodded. I found an apartment." Pegasus smiled. "You're not mad?" Naruto asked. "Not at all. I figured you would look for a place. You are always welcome here," he said with a smile. He handed Naruto a briefcase. "What's this?" "Some cards. I've also gotten you a subscription to Battle City News, the Duel magazine and Duel Weekly, which comes with 5 cards." Naruto looked at the man. "Why?" Pegasus smiled. Just helping someone who needs it. Also, I've gotten some word on a new academy being built, Duel Academy. I've heard it came from Kaiba Boy. It should be up in a couple of months, so keep an eye out for it. Naruto got the feeling that there was more to the academy for some reason but accepted the help and info. Here, this is a cell phone. If you need help, call. My number is in the memory. It's paid up for a year in your name. I had one of my employees set it up for you. Naruto thanked him and left after getting his bag. Pegasus smirked and looked at the guard. I want all of his duels recorded. Yes, sir. Naruto's apartment. He stretched his arms and sighed. He had been in Battle City now for a week. Getting dressed for the day, Naruto turned on the TV. And in Battle City news, Naruto the Black Dragon continues to decimate opponents as his win over US national champion Rebecca. Naruto shook his head. He'd been enjoying a nice lunch when Rebecca with Teddy had approached him and demanded a duel. They had a duel and Naruto had been lucky in his draw and managed to sacrifice the cards in his hand to put Red Eye's Darkness Metal Dragon on the field right away, and started summoning the Red Eye's Wyverns to the field. Rebecca had been shocked as Red Eye's Black Dragon's steam rolled her monster, and in several rounds with a few more dragons on the field he got the win. He collected the 1,000 duel points she had put up and walked away as she cried to Teddy about him being a meanie. Slipping his duel disc on, he adjusted his vest. Battle City was too damn hot for the jacket, and he bought a battle vest with an inside pocket for his cards, and he bought a pouch. 4th duel points he won. He had to admit he was taking to dueling like a duck to water. Or like a dragon in the golden mountain of Erebor. Naruto thought and heard the snicker in the back of his mind. Kyuubi loved duel monsters and gave Naruto mental pointers and even mock-dueled with him in his mind. Grabbing his apartment keys, he locked the door behind him and wandered down the hall to the stairs. Morning, Naruto. Old Baba said. Hey Baba. Naruto said. Any mail? Heesked. She checked the box and shook her head. Nothing yet, but the mailman has been running late. She said. I think he's been either dueling while he's working or he's been watching duels while he's supposed to be delivering the mail. Naruto laughed. The city is duel crazy. He muttered. Well, I'm off. See you tonight, he said and waved to her as he left. Baba smiled. He's such a nice boy. She thought and hoped that he would make some friends soon. Naruto walked the streets of Battle City. Several die-hard players were up and using the public duel stations to fight. Naruto got himself some coffee and stopped at the Clock Plaza. He liked the city early in the morning as it was quieter and he used the time to stretch his senses out. Speaking of senses, it turned out Pegasus was right. The Duelist Academy was opening, but it was already built. He thought maybe he should enroll and asked Pegasus about, who was delighted and said he would make some calls to get Naruto started. Hey Kit, looks like your fan club is forming. Kyuubi mentally teased him. He looked up to see a couple of the younger duelists wearing Black Dragon shirts. Damn, already, well shit. Naruto sent back to the fox as it was the Nine Tails image on the shirts. Yeah, snort. In a week you've become a local hero, the Kyuubi said to him. Shaking his head, he got ready as the first challenger of the day was approaching. Mr. Black Dragon, sir. My name's Naruto. Tyler. I'm Tyler. The 12-year-old boy said. Naruto smiled. You want to duel? He asked the younger boy. Really? You would duel with me? Tyler asked in surprise. Sure, why wouldn't I? Naruto asked, flipping on his duel disc as the LP counter clicked up to 8,000. B, because you're the Black Dragon, a famous duelist. Tyler said. Naruto blinked. Famous? I just started playing not more than a week ago. Tyler looked at him as if he was lying. My first duel was against a young woman named Aurora. Naruto said and showed his duel badge to Tyler. See, here's the date I started. The younger boy looked at Naruto in shock as he pulled his duel disc out of his backpack. I had to do this quick, I sorta skipped out of biology class. Tyler said as one of his textbooks fell from his bag and he gave Naruto a sheepish look. It's okay, Naruto said, pulling his cards from the hidden pocket, and after shuffling them he slipped them into the holder on the duel disc. Tyler he saw do the same. Stakes? Naruto asked. I only got 50 DP on me. Tyler said sheepishly. Okay. How about your 50 DP against? Naruto pulled out a small pouch. My 200. Tyler looked at him in shock, but nodded as Naruto smiled in encouragement. It's time to duel, Naruto said as he and Tyler did rock, paper, scissors. Naruto won, deciding to go second. Tyler drew 5 cards and then during his draw phase pulled a new card. Alright, here I go. I summon this monster in defense mode and end my turn. Tyler said. That was the thing with going first, you couldn't attack until the next round. Naruto drew his 5 cards and mentally smiled as Kyuubi laughed in his head. He drew his 6th card and shook his head. I put monster card face down and 2 more cards face down and end my turn. Naruto said. He was curious as to what Tyler could do and didn't want to crush him right away. Tyler. 1 face down. Naruto. 1 face down, monster, 2 face down. Tyler's LP. 8,000. Naruto's LP. 8,000. Tyler licked his lips and drew a card before entering the first main phase. He pulled a card. I summoned Beaver Warrior, 4, 1200-1500, in attack mode. The armor-wearing Beast Warrior appeared and Naruto wasn't worried yet. I flipped my other card up to attack mode. Tyler announced and it revealed, Nekogul number 1, 3, 1100-900s. Tyler smiled and pointed. Nekogul number 1 attack his face-down monster. Naruto let it happen and the card revealed Blade Knight, 4, 1600-1000. Tyler groaned as it did nothing and he ended his turn as neither of his summoned monsters had the power to take the blade-wielding knight. I end my turn for now. Naruto drew a card and looked at his hand. I could do it now, but I have a feeling the kid's got something else. Good idea to hold off, it's still early, Kyuubi mentally agreed. I summoned Dark Blade, 4, 1800-1500, in attack mode, and place another card face down. 3 cards were in the backfield. You'll have Dark Blade attack your Beaver Warrior. Tyler winced at the shock of his life points getting the difference as his Beaver Warrior was destroyed. I end my turn, Naruto said. Tyler. Nekogul number 1 ATK, 1100. Naruto. 3 face down, Dark Blade. 4, 1800-1500, Blade Knight. 4, 1600-1000. Tyler's LP. 7400. Naruto's LP. 8,000. Tyler had already drawn his card and put a card face down in the monster zone. And he put a card in the backfield as well face down. I moved Nekogul number 1 into defense position and end my turn. The younger boy said. Naruto drew a card and added it to his hand. He took one of the monsters and summoned it to the field. I summoned Dark Blade, 4, 1800-1500, in attack mode and have him go after your Nekogul. Tyler sighed and flipped a card. I use negate attack, trap, counter. He said and relaxed as Naruto's attack was stopped. I end my turn then. Naruto said. Tyler. Nekogul number 1 def, 900. 1 face down, monster. Naruto. 3 face down, 2 Dark Blade. 4, 1800-1500, Blade Knight. 4, 1600-1000. Tyler's LP. 7400. Naruto's LP. 8,000. Naruto watched as Tyler drew a card, his own eyes going to the 2 cards in his hand. If I play these, it might be overkill. He thought as Tyler put a monster card face down and ended his turn. Naruto drew his card and made a decision. I sacrificed Dark Blade to summon Red Eye's Black Dragon. 7, 2400-2000s, in attack mode. He looked across the way and saw the look in Tyler's eyes as the Black Dragon rose above the field, its black wings eclipsing the sun as it let out a roar. Wow, Tyler said. Naruto agreed. He nodded. Red Eyes attacked Nekogul number 1. Tyler was thanking whatever gods he prayed to that he had put her in defense mode as his monster was destroyed. Naruto shook his head and ended his turn after reminding Tyler about the Kyuubi's special ability, and he wouldn't be able to attack for 3 turns. Tyler. 1 face down, monster. Naruto. 3 face down, Dark Blade. 4, 1800-1500, Blade Knight. 4, 1600-1000, Red Eye's Black Dragon. 7, 2400-2000s. Tyler's LP. 7400. Naruto's LP. 8,000. Tyler drew a card and sighed as he ended his turn. Naruto drew a card and placed it in his hand. I use Banner of Courage. Naruto looked at the 2 cards in his hand and smiled. I also use Swords of Revealing Light. Looking the 3 cards over he smirked as he really wanted to test the cards out and now he could. I use Polymerization, magic, to combine Summoned Skull. 6. 2500 1200s, and Red Eyes Black Dragon to create Black Skull Dragon. 9. 3200 2500s, and summon him in attack mode. The image of a huge skull monster that seemed to smirk appeared and stood next to the black dragon. And when the polymerization took place, they were merged, and in their place was a black dragon with skull armor and red eyes. Next I use Rush recklessly and give it to Black Skull Dragon. Tyler watched as the black dragon as it glowed black and looked at Naruto. It raises the attack power of a monster by 700. Naruto said, and he laughed at the whine that Tyler made. Now Black Skull Dragon, take out his face-down monster attack. The giant black skull armored dragon fired a ball of black fire and the face-down monster exploded without ever being seen, letting Naruto know that it hadn't even been worth worrying about. Now that is out of the way. Dark Blade attack. Tyler screamed at the jolt from the dual disc as his life points took the direct hit. I put my last card face down and end my turn. Naruto said as he looked at Tyler, hoping the kid was alright. Tyler. Naruto. 4 face down, Dark Blade. 4, 1500, Blade Knight. 4, 1800 1000, Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon. 9, 3400 2500s, Banner of Courage. Tyler's LP, 3700. Naruto's LP, 8000. You okay? Naruto asked as Tyler was trying to steady his breathing still. Why yeah. Wow, that's a hell of a shock. Tyler said. You want a couple minutes? Naruto asked. No. I need to finish this. Tyler said. Naruto watched as he drew a card. I use the spark, spell, and attack your life points directly. Naruto winced as 600 points were deducted from his counter. He ignored his face-down cards, deciding to let Tyler get in a hit on him. And I summoned Giant Soldier of Stone, 3, 1300 2000, in defense mode and end my turn. Naruto almost felt sorry for the kid. He had nothing or he needed a major tribute to get his cards. Drawing his card, Naruto blinked and entered the first main phase of his turn. I use reinforcements of the army and summon another Dark Blade, then I play Rush recklessly on him, giving him 700 attack points. Dark Blade. 4, 2700 1500s. Naruto looked at Tyler and said. Sorry about this. Black Skull Dragon, take out the giant soldier. The vixen did her job and the stone guardian was destroyed in a display of light. Now, Dark Blade attack his life points. When Dark Blade was done, Blade Knight came and finished him off. Tyler winced as the blow landed and the last shock was just as bad as the previous one, and he dropped to his knees as his LP display went to 0. Tyler. 0 cards. Naruto. 4 face down, 2 Dark Blade. 4, 1500, Blade Knight. 4, 1800 1000, Red Eyes Black Skull Dragon. 9, 3400 2500s, Banner of Courage. Tyler's LP, 0. Naruto's LP, 7400. Naruto deactivated his dual disc and slipped his cards away. He walked over and offered his hand to Tyler. Thanks, the younger boy said and handed Naruto the DP. I wouldn't take these, but I made the wager, Tyler said, and I get to tell all my friends I dueled the Black Dragon. Tyler looked at his watch and grabbed his bag. Thanks, I need to go. Naruto watched the kid leave and wondered, even the kids are friendly. He must. Food. Naruto chuckled at his duel spirit and decided to get some coffee and look around the city some more. Sidewalk Cafe. Naruto relaxed as he looked at a nearby monitor as Rex Raptor defeated another person. We could crush him, Kyuubi said, looking at the dinosaur monsters with disdain. I'm sure we could. I just want to learn the ropes and get more comfortable with my cards. Rebecca surprised me. Kyuubi's snort rang in his ears as he finished his coffee and stood to throw it away. As he was rising and turning, he accidentally bumped into someone. Oof, that someone was female. Naruto looked at the girl he'd knocked to the ground, her coffee cup several feet away. A pair of brown eyes were looking at him from behind the bangs of brown hair. I'm sorry, Naruto said to the girl who was his age. He reached down to help her up. Let me buy you a new coffee to apologize. The girl blinked and Naruto realized she was looking at his whisker marks. Hey, birthmarks, he said. I'm Naruto. Naruto Uzumaki. The girl realized she was staring and blinked. T. Gardner. And it was my fault. I've been rushing around all day and wasn't watching where I was going. Naruto made sure she was steady by holding her arms. Oh, you're a duelist. T said. Naruto shrugged. Just started a week ago. You? T shrugged. A little bit. I want to be a dancer. She looked away and Naruto saw the look in her eyes, a look he knew well. Want to bend my ear? I'll buy you a new drink and a couple of those fresh cookies. He offered. T blinked and saw his offering smile. Please. It's either talk to a pretty girl, or go back out there, and I know I prefer the first choice. T blushed at being called pretty and nodded. Fine. I must warn you, it's a boring story. I'm sure anything you have to say is far from dull. How about this? You tell me your tale of woe and I'll tell you mine. T grinned as Naruto offered her his arm. I must warn you, I can talk your ear off. Naruto chuckled. Something about her. Kyuubi kept quiet but he was smirking a little. Kohaku once more watched someone exit her shop for the 12th time today when she realized the dock master was calling for her. Mail, he said, and she accepted the letter and a couple of magazines. Kohaku was written in the familiar script that she recognized as Naruto's. Ripping open the letter, she scanned it once then blinked. Reading it again, she opened the magazine to the page marked and blinked at the title. Battle City invaded by Black Dragon Duelist. The subtitle was just as eye-opening. Rare Black Dragon cards seen destroying competition. She started to read the articles and Naruto's script in the margins. Hey Kohaku, my first few duels made the local paper. I'll send you more when I can. Here's my address. She shook her head and looked at the steamship on the horizon and smirked at what idiot of an opponents would dare go against the boy. The mail was late getting out and they sent on a machine called a helicopter to catch up with the ship. Take care and I'll send you more in time. It was signed, Naruto Uzumaki, the Black Dragon Duelist, formerly of Konoha. Knock him dead, kiddo, Kohaku said and headed for the tavern to share the article with those that Naruto knew and had come to care for him during his short stay here. No way, T said in surprise and laughter. Oh yeah, I was a prankster of the highest order in my village. Naruto said. Wow, and you came here? T prompted. I needed a change, and a friend suggested it. He said with a shrug. He edited a lot of information and changed him getting kicked out of school instead of being kicked out of a ninja school. So, what about you? What about T. Gardner? She shrugged. I go to Domino High with several of my friends. When not hanging with them, I work numerous jobs to save money for a dance school in New York. Dance school? T blushed. A dream, but after visiting my aunt over the summer I'm back here. Naruto caught the note of sadness. What's wrong? T shook her head and looked across the way. Come on, let's do something fun. My treat. She grabbed his hand and dragged him from the cafe and across the street before he could utter any sound of protest. Naruto found his attention on her hand in his and how it seemed a perfect fit. Shaking his head, he saw she was leading him into an arcade. Video games? I'm shocked, he said. T looked over her shoulder and gave him a grin. Naruto smirked, and once more found his eyes traveling down her yellow shirt covered back to the shapely figure concealed by the black skirt. He noticed her own dual disc and smacked himself for not seeing it before. He saw she kept her cards in the carrier on the disc and was wondering what cards she played with. Once inside the arcade, Naruto blinked as his eyes adjusted from the bright light of day to the dimly lit interior of the arcade. The dim lights and hundreds of arcade game screens were the only illumination. The sound of quarters being exchanged filled the air along with the sounds of electronic battle. T led him past all the games to the back where there was a wall screen and he saw several pads on the ground. You ever play? T asked. Naruto shook his head. Never danced before either. At this he saw her grin and knew she was going to give him one hell of a workout. T went and exchanged DP for tokens while Naruto studied the pad. He watched others play down the way and knew he could do this. T came and slipped the tokens in and grinned. Ready? As I'll ever be. Naruto agreed and T started the game. For as mobile as he was, Naruto found the first time difficult as he would forget where to put his feet. Not too bad, T said. Ready for the next level? Naruto took a steadying breath and nodded. Let's do it. They spent the next 15 minutes dancing on the pads and Naruto improved with each round. When they finally stopped, T dragged them towards the juice bar. What'll you have? She asked. Banana strawberry smoothie? T nodded and came back to their table with 2 smoothies. They relaxed and T teased him. Hey, I got better as I got used to it. Naruto defended himself. T nodded. You did. You used to be on a sports or gymnastics team? She asked. Naruto thought about it. I guess it was. Wedded all kinds of obstacle courses and sparring. Wow, I know I'm not a fighter. She gestured around. I prefer simpler things as you can see. Nothing wrong with that, Naruto said sipping his smoothie. I know you're dying to ask. T said. About? Naruto feigned ignorance. You want to know how my trip was? T said and Naruto nodded. But I thought it was still too soon to ask. T smiled. It's okay. I feel like I can trust you. My friends don't know yet, I'm kind of embarrassed to tell them that I failed the audition. What happened? Naruto asked softly. T sipped her smoothie and sighed. I froze. The instructor started to ask me all kinds of questions and I couldn't answer them. She sighed. Apparently they want someone built like a 9-year-old boy. T shook her head. And starving oneself is not a means to an end. So now what will you do? Naruto asked. Well, as I said earlier, I'm attending a local dance studio. Just because some snobs in New York didn't like me and wanted a small fortune to dance, I'll continue working odd jobs and enjoying life. What about you, Naruto? She asked. Not sure. I'm trying to find myself right now. Naruto said with a shrug. What about regular school? T asked. Surely you want to at least get a decent education. Naruto shrugged. It's an idea. T could see he was thinking about it. Another game? She asked with a grin. Sure, but not so fast this time. Naruto said and they went to machine. T was just about to put the tokens in when a hand grabbed her wrist. Hey, not so fast little girl. She turned to see a big brute and a girl with him sitting on his shoulder. This is our machine. No one was using it earlier and we've been using it for the last couple hours. T said and pulled her hand out of the bigger man's grip. Ken, let them have it. The girl on his shoulder said. Nah, we've had this machine since the arcade first put it in. The girl had green hair and pigtails and couldn't be an older than 9 poked Ken in the side of the head. How about you duel her boyfriend for it then? Naruto choked on air hearing the kid calling him T's boyfriend. Ken sneered. But Suki, he's just a runt. The now identified Suki poked him again. It's the fair thing to do. Besides you haven't dueled today. He looks weak. T looked at Naruto who shrugged. Fine, but it's a duel and a dance-off. Ken said holding up a couple of game tokens. He has to beat me at both the duel and the dance. T looked at Naruto again. Can you do it? Don't know, never done anything else while dueling before. Naruto admitted. We can do something else. T said and Naruto heard the longing in her voice. He had to admit, she seemed to glow while she danced. No, we had this first and you're having a good time, right? T nodded that she was. Then I'll win it for you. Naruto said giving her a fox-like grin and stepped up. Let's do this. Ken smirked as he pulled out his dual disc and activated it as Naruto did. Both LP counters entered as 8,000. Suki put the tokens in for the machine as both Naruto and Ken shuffled their decks. T flipped a coin with Ken calling tails. It was heads. I'll go second, Naruto said as he and Ken drew 5 cards. Ken nodded as he started dancing. His big feet hitting the pad with a practiced ease, and Naruto was forced to keep up. Ken drew a card and set one monster card face down and another card in the backfield face down. Go short stuff. Naruto nodded and drew a card. He put 2 cards face down in the backfield, his feet hitting the proper sequence as he pulled a monster from his hand. I summon. Dark Blade. 3, 1200/700s. In attack mode. Go Dark Blade, he yelled as he made the correct arrows. Ken laughed. Nice try. Negate attack, trap, counter. Naruto nodded as he continued to hit the correct button combinations. He saw the dance, duel wasn't easy for Ken either. I end my turn, Naruto said as he continued to follow the patterns on the screen. Ken. 1 face down monster. Naruto. Dark Blade ATK, 1200, 2 face down. Ken's LP. 8,000. Naruto's LP. 8,000. Ken managed to perform a series of twists and turns to hit the proper combination. Even as he turned he managed to draw his card. I summon Armored Lizard, 4, 1500/1200, in attack mode. Take out that Dark Blade. Ken ordered and while doing so missed several combinations on the dance pad. Naruto shook his head. I counter with Mirror Force, trap. he said, flipping one of his face-down cards. Ken growled as his armored lizard was destroyed by its own attack, but his face-down monster was still safe. My turn ends. Naruto hit several steps and drew his card. Ken nodded. I summon Red Eye B-Chick, 1-800-500s, in attack position, and then I send it to the graveyard to summon Red Eye's Black Dragon in attack position. Alright, take out that face-down monster. The giant black red-eyed dragon did just that. With a powerful blast of black flame, the card dissolved in a sparkle of light. I put another face down in the backfield and my turn. Naruto said. Ken. 0 cards. Naruto. Red Eyes Black Dragon ATK. 2400. Dark Blade ATK. 1200. 2 face down. Ken's LP. 8000. Naruto's LP. 8000. Ken focused on the next several dance steps before drawing a card. I summon Celtic Guardian, 1400-1200, in defense mode and end my turn. Naruto saw that he had a series of difficult dance steps and ended up using a break dance in order to do the combination needed. As he spun to his feet, he drew a card. Naruto looked at the 2 cards he held. I use Cup of Ace, Magic, T comes and flips a coin and it lands on heads, and now I take 2 cards. He looked at the 3 cards and mentally smiled even as his feet worked to keep with the dance pad. He put the card down. I summon Red Eyes B. Chick, 1-800-500s, in attack position, then I send him to the graveyard to bring Anoth Red Eyes Black Dragon to the field, but I not finished yet. I sacrifice my Dark Blade to summon another Red Eyes Black Dragon. The giant dragons seemed to smile as they looked at their soon-to-be prey, while Ken himself seemed to sweat a lot. Naruto's feet hit 3 out of 4 of the arrows and he groaned, but so far he was keeping up with Ken on the dance game. Red Eyes, attack Celtic Guardian. The Celtic Guardian was destroyed and Naruto looked at his other Red Eyes. Red Eyes, direct attack. Ken groaned as the shock hit him. He was shocked as his life points were hit for 4,800. I end my turn, Naruto said. He noticed that during the direct attack Ken had missed a lot of dance moves and his score was dropping. Ken. 0 cards. Naruto. 3 Red Eyes Black Dragon ATK. 2400. 2 face down. Ken's LP. 3200. Naruto's LP. 8000. Ken was working hard on his dance pad now and Naruto could see the bigger man was sweating hard by the time he drew a card. The scowl told Naruto plenty as Ken put a monster card face down and ended his turn. Naruto had a series of steps and on the last one he drew a card and put it on the field face down. Let's do this, he said, sending his first Red Eyes that wiped out whatever monster Ken was using as a defender. Red Eyes direct attack. Ken went to his knees as the shock hit him from the heavy loss of life points. Naruto ended his turn with a spin on the dance pad. Ken. 0 cards. Naruto. 3 Red Eyes Black Dragons ATK. 2400. 2 face down. Ken's LP. 800. Naruto's LP. 8000. Ken looked irate as he got to his feet and tried to get his rhythm back as he drew a card. The big man smiled. I offer up these 3 cards and use the card Black Luster Ritual, Magic, Ritual, to bring Black Luster Soldier. 8, 3000 2500s, in attack mode. Soldier, take out Red Eyes, go. Naruto blinked and then tapped one of his face-down cards. Not so fast, Ken. I use Swords of Traveling Light, Magic, which is an attack stopper in your case. Ken growled as his attack failed and he ended his turn, content that he would have him and win this dance duel. Well, that was until Naruto drew his card. Naruto drew a card and smirked, as did the Kyuubi inside of him. Final, the card would be reveled. I use the card Polymerization, Magic, Ritual, and sacrifice my 3 Red Eyes Black Dragons to summon the Dragon God of Darkness, the one dragon to strike fear in all. I summon the Red Eyes Ultimate Dragon. 11, 3900 2700s, in attack mode. The lights seemed to flicker as the 3 red eyes fell into a dark watery pool. Out of it climbed a 3-headed black dragon with eyes as red as rubies. Ken blinked as if finally putting it together. You're that black dragon guy. Naruto chuckled. I am Red Eyes ultimate effect is activated and I can attack 3 times as long as there is a monster on your side of the field. This ends now. Red Eyes, take out Black Luster Soldier. The dragon roared and bathed the luster solider in black flames, and Ken winced as he took the 100-point difference in the attack powers and watched his greatest monster get wiped out. Sorry for this, Red Eye's ultimate dragon, direct attack, go. Ken dropped to his knees as Vixen's attack wiped out his life points. Ken. 0 cards. Naruto. Red Eye's ultimate dragon ATK, 3900, 2 face down. Ken's LP, 0. Naruto's LP, 8000. Naruto finished the dance with a flourish and Ken unable to move due to the shocks watched his score like his life points go to 0 and game over flashed on the screen declaring Naruto the winner. The whisker-marked blonde sighed as he relaxed. So his surprise was something to see when T rushed up and hugged him. That was awesome. Naruto blinked when she backed up and recounted not only the dance but the duel with each move. He smiled at how she put her whole body into it. Mr. Dragon. T stopped talking as Naruto looked at Suki, who was helping Ken to his feet. Hey, good match? Naruto offered his hand to the big man. You had me beat from the word go, didn't you? Ken said, regaining his feet. If I would have known who you were, you would have taken me more seriously. Naruto said. It's one of the reasons I avoid cameras so far. I like the element of surprise. Ken nodded. Well, a deal's a deal. The machine is yours. Naruto looked at T. You rest. I'll play with Suki if she don't mind. Really? The green-haired girl asked. T nodded and handed Naruto a bottle of water. I'll be back, she said, and Naruto watched her go, taking a seat at the juice bar. Ken joined him. You got one heck of a girlfriend there. She's not my girlfriend. Really? Ken said, ordering a drink. The way she watches you, I'm surprised. What do you mean? Naruto asked. Suki told me she was watching every move you made. Naruto blinked and turned to watch T. Shidos have a certain glow when she's enthusiastic. He thought. Good mate. Strong mate. Kyuubi suggested. How do you know Fuzzy? Naruto thought. She smells. Naruto was about to ask what the hell that meant when T and Suki rejoined them. T took her drink and guzzled it, her hair and skin sporting sweat from the workout she just had. You're very good at this, Suki, she said, sitting next to Naruto. Thank you. Ken brings me here several times a week, the green-haired girl said, regaining her place on Ken's shoulder. Suki then looked at Naruto. You better be nice to your girlfriend or else I'll be upset with you. Naruto sputtered and T laughed as Ken stood and wished them a good day. You know, T said. Suki gave me several ideas. Oh. T led him away from the games and had a smirk on her face. I'll tell you over dinner. She laughed as Naruto stumbled. Outside diner. Thank you, T said and kissed Naruto's cheek, getting him to blush. I've had a lot of fun today. And you didn't have to buy diner, I was joking. Naruto waved her off. It was my pleasure, Naruto said. In his mind, Kyuubi was purring every time T touched him. I had a lot of fun, and I'm glad I bumped into you. T smirked as they started to walk. The street lights were on, and even as night had fallen, duels were still going strong. Both had stored their duel discs in a backpack and Naruto carried them over his shoulder as they walked. I don't know why, but there's something about you, T said. I've never felt this comfortable around someone before. Naruto shrugged, as he was surprised himself how comfortable he was around the brown-haired girl. Seems I monopolized your whole day, Naruto said. I'm not complaining, T said, and she found her hands slipping into Naruto's. Want to walk some more? She asked. Sure. They stopped by the fountain and T looked up at the clock, surprised that it was nearly 10. Wow. Naruto looked and blinked. I didn't think we'd been out this long. I'm going to get in trouble, T muttered, and Naruto looked at her. My curfew is 10. I'm sorry. T waved him off as they walked and he found a scooter. I'll be home in about 15 minutes, she said, then stopped. Naruto, I'd like to see you again, T said, and a slight blush tinged her cheeks. Cha, what's wrong with me? She thought. I'd like that. I'm usually around here. He gestured. At her look he shrugged. She smiled and kissed his cheek. I really did have a great day. I'll see you later. I better go before I get grounded. She sat on the scooter and put on a helmet. Naruto took his dual disc out of the bag and handed it to her for her own disc. They made plans to meet for a late lunch as T had to work in the morning. They exchanged phone numbers. Naruto waved as he watched her go. He was starting to turn when he was struck from behind. He saw several feet and heard a voice. Look at what we got here, boys. Laughter was the last thing he heard before another blow knocked him unconscious. He didn't feel his vest being shredded as hands looked for his cards and the sound of his dual disc being shattered on the concrete. Naruto came to seeing the suit-wearing guards he recognized as Pegasus's men and the thugs from his first day, unconscious on the ground several feet away, handcuffed and bleeding. Scattered on the ground before him were small fires, and Naruto blinked several times before he realized that they were his cards. The bastards had destroyed his dual disc and ripped his vest apart to get his cards and set them on fire. Naruto struggled to his knees as his head was throbbing. "Sir, we're sorry," one of the guards said while another guard was on a phone. Naruto blinked and the guard spoke again. "We lost track of you, and by the time we found you they had already set fire to your deck." Naruto blinked at the man and looked at the fires. His cards, his whole deck was gone. A limo came rushing up the road and screeched to a halt. The back door opened and Pegasus rushed out. He ignored the guards trying to keep up with him. "Is he okay?" "He hasn't responded, sir. I think he might have a concussion." The guard nearest Naruto said. "I was just about to call for an ambulance." "I'm fine," Naruto said, his voice hollow. "I heal quickly." His eyes were on the cards. He recognized one as the Red Eyes Ultimate Dragon card. He reached out to smother the card, but Pegasus was there and grabbed his hand. "Don't." He looked at the guards. "Clean this up. Drop that trash off at the police station. File a report." "Yes, sir," the guard said. Pegasus looked at Naruto, whose gaze was still on his destroyed cards. "Naruto." Pegasus went to a knee and called his name again. "I will replace them, make them better. Look at me." Naruto blinked and looked at Pegasus. "Pegasus-san. When did you get here? Come on, we need to get you checked out and then you'll stay at the penthouse." "I want to go back to my apartment," Naruto said. His voice was hollow. He didn't understand why he was so affected by the destruction of his cards. "It's because in a short amount of time they became an extension of you." Kyuubi's mental voices aid in a soothing voice. "It'll be all right, kid. I'm still here. Pegasus will fix this. How could I be so stupid? I let my guard down." Kyuubi remained quiet. Naruto allowed Pegasus to pull him to his feet and load him into the limo. Next day, Burger Hut. T was smiling and her coworkers were amazed at the good mood the already usually perky girl was in. T was about to head to the back when she heard something on the radio that stopped her cold. The Red Eyes Black Dragon duelist, Naruto Uzumaki, was attacked last night and his entire deck has been destroyed. Police have the ones responsible in custody. This reporter has found out that the Black Dragon suffered a minor concussion and already checked out of the hospital. It's sad that this kind of thing is still happening. It was bad enough last summer with the rare card hunters and ghouls, but to have such a promising duelist taken out in a street mugging. I tell you, the police need to increase patrols. T blinked and dropped the tray she was going to load up to deliver to tables, not listening to anything else the radio said. She didn't hear the cook as she grabbed her jacket and keys before rushing out the back door to her scooter. A cold pit formed in her stomach as she grabbed her helmet and jammed it on her head before starting the bike. Please let him be okay. Please." Clock Plaza. T parked her scooter and frowned at her, impulsively running off. "Gah, I don't have his address. What was I thinking?" T wandered around the area asking several of the shop owners if they knew where Naruto lived. Many of them gave her looks like she was crazy. She was getting frustrated after 20 minutes and saw the cyber cafe. She hurried over and paid for the terminal. Pulling out her phone, she pulled up the search engine on the computer and entered Naruto's name and phone number. "I could call, but if he's hurt." She shook her head and started her search. It took her several tries and she finally found his address when she used her old password from her time at working at the paper. "He gets duel weekly." Thank Kami, she thought as she scribbled the address down and then pulled up a map and saw it was a couple blocks away. She printed the map and hurried back out to her scooter and zipped away. Apartment. T hopped off her scooter and nearly threw the helmet as she rushed up the walk and opened the door. "Can I help you?" T nearly jumped out of her skin. "I'm looking for Naruto." "Naruto Uzumaki," she said. Old Baba looked at the girl and saw the fear and concern. "Top floor, room 401, she said, and T was already rushing up the stairs. Baba smiled. "Glad he's got friends," she muttered as she looked out the window and scowled as the limo pulled up. "More than that, rogue," Naruto groaned as the door of his apartment was pounded on. He really didn't want to get up. The last thing he wanted to do was talk to anyone right now. Pegasus talked with him at the hospital and swore Naruto would have the new deck today, and he had new cards for Naruto and an improved three-headed Red Eyes Black Dragon card as well as many other surprises. Doesn't matter. I liked my deck, Naruto thought as he'd spent many hours looking over the cards and memorizing them. New cards aren't exactly better, he thought. He sighed as the pounding became more insistent. Getting up, he shuffled across the floor wearing baggy tiger stripe lounge pants, not bothering with a shirt. He flipped the lock and opened the door. "No enter, T?" was as far as he got when the brunette grabbed him in a hug. "Oh, thank the gods you're all right," she said as he hugged him tight, her face against his shoulder. Okay, not an overzealous reporter at least, he thought as he melted into the hug, feeling better as her scent filtered in his nose. It took a minute before she realized he wasn't wearing a shirt. Her blush could have lit up a city block, Naruto was certain. He watched her step back and then he saw her eyes staring at his torso. "Hey T-chan, want to come in?" he asked and stepped back. T blinked and entered. Naruto closed the door behind her and grabbed his shirt off the back of the chair. She took a moment to see his back littered with various pale white scars along with his wiry muscles. "The radio said you'd been attacked," T said, blinking once the white t-shirt was on. "I was," he said. "I'm fine, just a bump really. Bastards destroyed my disc and cards." He gestured to the remains of his vest. "They really did a number on me, lucky they didn't get to do more." "They destroyed your deck? But you're not fine," T said. She understood how close duelists got to their cards, they formed a bond with them. Yugi's heart of the cards isn't just talk, she thought. What are you going to do? I know that the three-headed Red Eyes Black Dragon card was one of a kind. Naruto was about to respond when there was another knock on his door. Geez, old Baba said she'd not let anyone in, he muttered as he looked at T. "One moment," he called out. "Have a seat," he said to T, gesturing to a chair or couch. She nodded and waited, staying behind Naruto to see who else would disturb him. When the door opened, she gasped at who was on the other side. "Moments ago," Pegasus sighed as the old woman scolded him. "I assure you, madam, I have nothing but the best intentions in regards to Naruto." Pegasus sighed as the woman held a taser up and scowled. "You bring him back last night, he looks like a zombie. I won't have you or any of those damned reporters sniffing around. I've already had my people send out a statement. As for Naruto, I brought him a new deck and dual disc," he said, and his guard held up the briefcase. "Now if you'll let me past." "You can, the muscle stays out here. No pets allowed," Baba said as her cat meowed. "It's okay Pharaoh, the rogue won't be interrupting your telly time." The orange and black furred cat sauntered back into the apartment and Pegasus rolled his eye. "Madam, go you rake." Pegasus took the case and started up the stairs. He reached Naruto's apartment and looked around with a hint of disgust. "I should move him into a proper place. But Naruto boy seems to like this place." He sighed and heard voices from inside and wondered if Naruto was watching television before he knocked. A moment later the door opened and he smiled, then blinked when his eye met a familiar face just behind Naruto. "Pegasus," T said in shock. "Ms. Gardner," Pegasus said, gathering himself. He hadn't seen her since Duelist Kingdom, but he was surprised to see her with Naruto. Wasn't she supposed to be in America for dancing school, he thought, and blinked as Naruto spoke. "Pegasus-san, you're early." "Nonsense. I had most of these cards ready days ago. I just spent the morning registering them." He smiled as he entered the apartment. He'd looked around last night after putting Naruto to bed. He put the briefcase on the kitchen table. "What are you doing here?" T asked. "Why, I'm delivering Naruto-kun's new deck and dual disc, Ms. Gardner. I always pay my debts, and Naruto saved my life. It's the least I can do is make sure that he's prepared for duels ahead." He entered the combination and opened the briefcase. "I mean, why don't you have one of your employees do it?" she said, alternating employee for thug. She was rather proud of herself at keeping civil. Pegasus sighed. "Many things have changed, Ms. Gardner, since you last saw me at Duelist Kingdom." He stepped aside. Naruto was looking between the pair of them. "I left the sheets in the case to help you learn about the new cards. You have my number if you have any questions." Pegasus would have preferred to stay and work with Naruto over his new deck, but he already could tell he'd be a third wheel. Ms. Gardner looks like she has no intention of leaving him alone. This wasn't something I expected. Thought the white-haired man, almost likely be in touch. And this time be careful, Pegasus said. He was nearly to the door when Naruto spoke. Thank you, again. Think nothing of it. I am sorry my employees weren't quicker. Naruto avenued it off and watched as the strange man who had been inserted into his life left, the door closing with a soft click. He looked at T. You never said you knew Pegasus, she said. Naruto sighed and sat down. I met him literally right after I got off the boat. T sat down and listened as Naruto explained how he saved the man from the same thugs who attacked him last night. T once more grabbed him in a hug and the pair sat on the couch for some time, T hugging him and Naruto running a hand up and down her back. Naruto blinked and looked at the clock. T-chan, not that I mind you coming and all, but how did you find me? And didn't you have to work? T groaned. I'm fired. She explained how she heard the radio report and how she'd left work, her search and finally using the computer to find him. Both of them blushed hearing their stomach growl. They shared a laugh. Come on, I'll buy lunch. T tried to protest and Naruto went to get dressed properly. T removed her apron and name tag before looking at the briefcase. Behave, he'll show you if he wants you talk now. T scolded her curiosity. She turned away to avoid temptation. Naruto joined her wearing black cargo pants and a rust orange t-shirt. She saw him grab a hooded sweat jacket. Ready? He asked, grabbing his wallet and keys. You want your cards? She asked. Naruto shook his head. Not until I've had time to look them all over. I'm temporarily off the game. He opened the door and gave her a gentle manly bow. Ladies first. Thank you, kind sir, T said. She was still worried about him, but right now he was acting as if he was fine. He doesn't act like he's got a concussion, she thought. T was still bothered about Pegasus being interested in Naruto. She remembered his interest in her friend Yugi and she thought nothing good came of that. Burger Hut. T shook her head as she watched Naruto finish 2 burgers and start a third. She'd talked with her boss and he didn't fire her. He'd seen the look on her face and had marked her down as having a half a day. Naruto sat back and sighed. Sorry, guess I was hungrier than I thought, he said. T shook her head. You know how many women would kill to have your metabolism? Worldwide or just in Battle City? Naruto asked with a teasing grin. They'd arrived and some people recognized Naruto as the Black Dragon duelist and he signed a couple of magazine ads that spoke his duels. T smiled. Heck, in this building alone. I've always been a big eater. You want to see something? Find a ramen hut and I'll show you how much I can't put away. T tapped her chin. There's one near the high school in Domino. She cocked her head and looked at Naruto. And since you're not going to be dueling for a couple of days, how about I show you where I go to school? Naruto nibbled on a fry. Wouldn't I be a distraction? Classes don't start for another week. There's the festival and several duel tournaments going on. Naruto thought about it then smiled. Then with such a lovely escort, how can I refuse? T's grin would light up Vegas. Several of the girls watching were jealous at how much attention the blonde duelist was giving the brunette and many of them vowed to get her to spill how she met him. Crawford Penthouse. It seems Naruto-kun is taken with Ms. Gardner from just meeting her. He watched the footage his employee had gotten. The looks and the arm touches. You want we should separate them, boss? Pegasus looked at the man. Heaven's number. I believe Ms. Gardner to be a suitable partner for our young dark dragon. He looked at the painting of his lost love and he saw the look in Ms. Gardner's eyes when she looked at Naruto. You will be happy, Naruto, my boy. For some reason, even without the Millennium Eye, I see great things around you. It was the reason I was near the docks that night. I still get visions when I sleep. Pegasus thought sadly. And your new deck is 100 times better than your first one. Pegasus had not been pleased that the thugs had been so rough with Naruto. Good help is so hard to find these days. He thought as he watched the bank of monitors that showed Naruto's duels, while the main one showed the footage of his day with T, then it switched to the dance battle of the arcade the other day. As Pegasus watched it, he caught onto an idea. Could you please get Kaiba-kun on the phone for me? I want to add Anoth section to the dueling school. Inside of a underground remote location. 5 figures each wearing black cloaks with multicolored streaks in them. Walked forward, then bowed at the feet of a large black throne. As the figures bowed, a dark, malevolent and powerful voice spoke. How went the mission? Asked the voice. The figure to the far right spoke first. The mission was a success. The Egyptian god cards and the wicked god cards are as we feared locked away. There was a low rumble in the room and the air grew cold, very cold, as a dark energy and power in the room suddenly grew to untold levels, and then the figure that spoke suddenly grabbed his neck as if he was choking. Then the figure next to him quickly spoke. It was an angelic female voice. "But my lord, the scared beasts are right on schedule, my lord, and Exodia the Forbidden One is still lost to the oceans and the Chaos Gods are nearly done, my lord." The figure that was choking was let go as he fell to the ground gasping. He stayed on his knees and looked towards the throne as a man, no, a dark god clad in black armor with a black cape, looked towards them. "Finish the Chaos Gods and find a way to get the wicked gods and the Egyptian god cards. I will not be held back by you fools, now leave me." And then the men and women got up, bowed, and left the room as the figure sat back on the throne. In the dark room things were heating up. Naruto sighed as he walked up the stairs to Pegasus' penthouse. It had been some odd months since the whole attack and he had sobered up in a way and stopped hiding in his apartment. He still hadn't looked at his new cards, the reason being he was scared, terrified even of his new deck. You see, Naruto could feel the unbridled power, and if he could say the kingly aura radiating from the deck along with a certain darkness that was enticing, to say the least, it made Naruto feel unbeatable. It was like he had unlocked his chakra for the first time all over again. And that's what scared him all the more. It may have made Naruto feel empowered, but that sort of power was dangerous and even more deadly to control. Naruto had read stories on duel monster cards in the past about how dangerous the duels were, and he even read about the god cards. Now those things made Naruto have an unspoken fear of duel monsters. It was said that those cards could take a person's very soul and that the only one who could really and truly control the cards was one Yugi Muto, the proclaimed king of games, and Seto Kaiba, the lord of duel monsters, titles that in truth Naruto was gunning for. Naruto remembered all the research he had done on the past of duel monsters. He remembered all of it from Battle Island all the way up till now. How powerful the battles were said to be and how dangerous they were, also how life and death were put on the line in the battles. The war really that followed those cards. He even asked T since when was there, and she confirmed it, all of it, and even gave info on things that weren't in the stories. And it made him scared. If battles like those could happen and exist, then the power of his deck could cause unparalleled amounts of damage and destruction. He would have to practice and gain full control of the deck. He would have to be a better player. And to do that he needed to learn how to duel better, how to be a stronger duelist. He needed to train, and the only person he knew that could help him was Pegasus, but he also knew Pegasus was a busy man, so it put a fork in his plans. But the reason he was here was that he thought it was time to give the man an answer to the question he had been asking him daily, the question being if Naruto would join the Duel Academy as a student. He at first didn't want to because he honestly thought it was a waste of time, and he didn't want to leave T behind, but yesterday he received news he wasn't expecting. Yesterday morning, Naruto yawned as he walked towards school. All last night T had been worried about calling him constantly, seeing if he was okay and if he needed anything. "Oh, that vixen, and you are getting quite cozy with each other, Kit," said the dual spirit as he floated next to Naruto. He looked like a chibi version of himself. At first Naruto was weirded out by it, but then he got used to it. That's also another thing Naruto and the large fox learned. Since he was Naruto's dual spirit, he could move in the outside world but not be seen. It made having conversations with people very hard because the fox, giving into his mischievous nature, would do weird things like float through people and try and pretend to bite their heads off or do other crazy things that would get Naruto to laugh. At this point it's a game. If Naruto laughs he wins. If he didn't, we'll try again, he supposed. As Naruto walked forward towards the place of learning he spotted T talking to some of her friends. Naruto smiled as he looked at her. "Hey, are you the Black Dragon duelist?" yelled someone next to him. Naruto and Kyuubi in slight fright jumped as they looked at the person next to them. Said person was a young male boy, somewhere between 12 to 15 from the looks of it, and his hair was styled to look like a Karibo's head with a blue dual disc. Yeah, what's up, kid?" asked the blonde duelist. "My name's Jaden Yuki and I am going to be the next king of games, but before that, I need to beat the best and you're one of them. I challenge you to a duel right here and now." All of the students by now had seen the challenge. Now Naruto was never one back down from a challenge, but for now, he couldn't. Even as his hand touched his deck he stopped himself and let it drop to his side. "Sorry kid, but I can't, not now." "What? But wait, if it's about duel points, trust me I have enough here." As Jaden ruffled on his duel disc to show he had enough duel points, Naruto sighed as he shook his head and went and kneeled before Jaden and put his hand on his shoulder, stopping the boy. "That ain't it, kid, it's Personal, very personal, but I'll tell you what, kid, the moment I am back up and on my feet I'll personally seek you out for my first comeback duel. Jaden took on a thoughtful expression, causing Naruto to smile. I'll even sweeten it, whoever wins or loses, no matter what, I'll buy ice cream for the both of us regardless. Jaden smiled as he threw a thumbs up at Naruto. You got it, I'll make sure to get stronger to give you a tough duel. Naruto smirked as he shook his head and got up and gave him a smile and a thumbs up back. And I promise not to slack off and keep getting stronger until I face you again. Jaden, now run along, I am sure someone's looking for you. Jaden smiled and turned and ran away while giving Naruto a wave of goodbye. Okay, but keep your promise. I will see you later, Jaden, he yelled as the boy ran off. People watching the scene smiled, all thinking of how kind Naruto was, seeing that he wasn't ready just yet, but he wasn't to outright deny the kid. As Naruto watched the kid leave, he suddenly felt a tap on his shoulder. He turned to see T standing there. Hey, I saw the whole thing, you better keep your promise to him. Naruto chuckled as he rubbed the back of his head. I never break a promise, T, it's a creed of mine. Flashback end. Pegasus smiled as he looked at Naruto. The boy had finally accepted his offer, but as he looked at the young man he felt a sort of conflict in the boy. Naruto, boy, you seem conflicted, is something wrong? Asked the creator of Duel Monsters. The boy nodded as he looked at the white-haired man. Pegasus-san, when you gave me my new deck I thanked you for it. But you see, there's something I need to tell you. And so Naruto told him everything, all his fears and even what he has learned. Once he was finished he let out a long sigh as he looks at Pegasus, who had an impassive look on his face. Then he chuckled a little and looked at Naruto with a smile that actually calmed Naruto down a lot. Naruto, may I tell you a story, and at the end of it, if you are still scared to use your deck, I'll take it back. Sound fair? Said the creator of Duel Monsters. Naruto thought for a minute, then nodded. Pegasus smiled as he walked towards a window and looked out over it with a smile. Did you know I was just like you after I created Duel Monsters, afraid to use the powers I had made? Naruto looked surprised. What, why were you afraid of your own creation? Pegasus smiled and shrugged. Why was Victor Frankenstein afraid of his own creation? It was the same reason I was scared, because he saw the horror of what he had created. When I created Duel Monsters, I at the time didn't know of the power I had unknowingly given the world. Then I dug deeper into the ancient Egyptian ruins and saw what their past Duel Monsters was like. I quickly tried to put an end to the game before it started, said the man as he shook his head and sat down. But as you can see, I failed in that endeavor and Duel Monsters was born. For months I refused to go outside, afraid of what I would see. I didn't turn on the television or the radio or anything. I thought the world was being overrun by monsters, he said with a slight chuckle, to which Naruto also chuckled too. But it was actually my dear departed wife who told me to look outside, but by this time I was too scared to even move from my own private studies. So what did you do? Obviously you kept making them and kept investing time into them. Pegasus started chuckling, then he full-on started laughing. After a few minutes of laughter and of Naruto waiting, getting annoyed but waiting, Pegasus looked up at the picture of his dear wife with a smile that could have brightened up any room. One day my wife got tired of my sulking behavior and dragged me out of the room by my hair and took me outside and demanded I paint her. I was so surprised by what she did I didn't fight it and did as she said. Laughing out loudly, Naruto shook his head. It seemed even the mighty Pegasus fell to the whims of a woman in love with him. Oh yes, please laugh it up. Anyway, after I painted her she made me take her out for ice cream, then a fair, and then a movie. Pegasus sighed. His wallet had taken a major hit that day, main reason being that after the movie was over his wife forced him to take her on a shopping spree. The reason he didn't tell Naruto that is simple. He will learn it from T as he learned it from his wife. And finally to the park, and throughout this whole experience she was chatting me up so much that I forgot why I even was afraid to come outside. Pegasus sighed as he looked out the window one more time, only to see a tree in his large yard with a bird's nest and one white egg. He smiled. Afterward, we went home, and when we finally made it home she looked at me and smiled, one that was full of love, and said, "See, your creation hasn't brought ruin on the land, it's still waiting to be formed by you." Pegasus sipped his tea and chuckled slightly. And after that, well, you know the rest. Naruto nodded. After that, only a few days later his wife died and Pegasus began a campaign to try and bring her back using science and old Egyptian magic. It failed due to Yugi and his friends. And after Yugi himself opened his eyes as to how wrong he was, he agreed and began to work with Kiba to spread the game and make it stronger and better. I see. Pegasus smiled as he looked at the blonde. You see Naruto, the point I am trying to make is that we should not be afraid of what we do in life. We must face them and correct them if they are bad and embrace them for as long as we can when they're good. I see what you mean to say. Yes, while your cards are gone you must embrace and remember them in your memories, but do not dwelling on them makes a pain continuous. You must be strong and move past the pain. After a minute of silence, Naruto looked up towards the man and nodded. He had a strong look of conviction in his eyes and Pegasus smiled as he noticed the look. I think I made a decision. While I am afraid of the cards, I want to be strong enough to use them, but I also want the experience. Oh, then have you considered and thought of my offer I proposed to you some time ago? It will be the perfect time to do so. Kaiba-kin is about to open the school. Naruto nodded. Yeah, I want in the school. It will give me experience and help me mentally move on by making new memories with my cards. Pegasus nodded as sipped his tea, agreeing with the boy. Go run along, I'll make the arrangements and trust me when I say they will be to your liking. Naruto nodded as he got up to go. Before he left though, he looked at Pegasus. Don't give me an unfair advantage now. My boy, I wouldn't even dream of it. Next month, Uzumaki Naruto as he stood outside the testing building. Hundreds of teenagers were huddled together, waiting for the practical exam to begin. It's not like I already know how to play duel monsters or anything. I only have 5 months of experience. He thought sarcastically. Hundreds of teenagers stood, huddled together waiting for the practical exam to begin. True, but you did spend the 5th month being afraid of your cards, which you have only used once by the way and not to their full extent, said the QB. Naruto shrugged as his fox duel spirit floated next to him in a chibi version. Not my fault. Time to reveal their full power hasn't happened yet, and I am betting that when it does we're going to be in for a lot of calls from Pegasus thanking us and cursing us out. Oh, and why is that? This deck oozes power, but I am guessing that a lot of these cards haven't come out yet and the phones at Kaiba and Pegasus companies are going to be ringing off the hook. Okay everyone, he started, smiling enthusiastically. It's time to prove your dueling abilities and show you are worthy of entering Duel Academy. There was murmured excitement as the potential students entered a larger room with multiple dueling arenas with a person standing on each one. The man from outside came over to the crowd and stood next to a rather effeminate man, who made Naruto shudder disgust. What the fuck? He thought, staring with a twitching brow. That's creepier than both tea on her time of the month and Pegasus combined when he eats pizza and drinks orange soda. He snapped out of his thoughts as the first man, jacket guy from now on, continued speaking. Okay, settle down. He waited for silence before continuing. Alright. Now all of you are going shall duel against our specially chosen test duelist to see if you have the skill to prove yourself worthy of attending Duel Academy. There was a general murmur before it silenced. The man standing next to me is Professor Kronos, an accomplished duelist and the head of the Obelisk Blue Dorm, but you'll hear more about that later. He will be observing you, see if you have what it takes. Naruto's sweat dropped. Wow, he's really forcing this prove your worth stuff. He blinked as he realized the weirdo had been talking and was just finishing. Damn, I've got to stop doing that, Naruto thought. He looked at the ticket in his hand as the jacket guy started talking again. When your number is called, please make your way to the designated arena and your test duel will begin. Everyone, except the first 10, moved towards the stands. Friends all gathered together to talk, while friends of the current duelists went to watch their matches. As Naruto walked up to the top of the stands, he had but one thought on his mind. This could be fun. A few moments later, Naruto was having the exact opposite of fun, sitting in the stands. He looked at his number and cursed. Why did it have to be so high? Grumbling to himself, he glanced around the large room, taking in all the potential students, the duels, and possible competition. Looking high up at the top layer of the stand opposite him, he caught something that made his eyes widen. He could only describe what he saw as a goddess. Golden blonde hair, stormy gray eyes, and that figure. Damn, was her figure unique. That he didn't notice his name being called. It was only after someone shook his shoulder did he snap out of his trance. He turned around angrily to smash the bastard who interrupted his thoughts. He saw a boy with neatly arranged hair spiking at the back. Noticing the danger he was in, the boy chuckled nervously before speaking. Haha, shouldn't you be going down? This snapped Naruto out of his daze and he looked at the rather posh-sounded boy before him. The call for his number sounded again, sounding more than slightly annoyed. His eyes widened in panic before he rushed down to the stadium ground, throwing a quick thanks over his shoulder to the black-haired teen. Reaching the bottom of the stands, he placed one hand on the barrier and vaulted over it. Landing, he ran over to his designated dueling area, excuse prepared. His face falted, however, when he saw his tester, a rather dull-looking man, average in every way, with a bored expression on his face, obviously not caring. The man just switched on his dual disc and dual glasses and waited. Recovering, Naruto quickly turned on his, and the two of them called duel. That's all for my now. If you enjoy, then please like, share and do comments.